century. I believe it. Later, when it comes to the implementation stage, I always say, feel it from my domain. They say it's going to be a 4-year undergraduation program, a 1-year PG program if it is a 4-year undergraduation program, a 2-year PG program if it is a 3-year undergraduation program, and confusions and are there on the type of credit to be availed. From my own domain, there were days, say for example as a parent, if I am introducing my daughter, she's a BSc. Other person will ask, what BSc? Which means which domain? Is it physics, chemistry, whatever it may be. That was the day. But today in my domain, if I introduce someone, he or she is become. Believe it or not, the next question will be, what become, which become? In BCom alone, to my knowledge, to the Board of Studies in which I am involved, 8 types of BComs are there. Right, from accounting and taxation, business, finance. Yes, sir. Yes, Professor. This is the situation today. And we are supposed to implement the provisions of NEP. And we are all responsible academic administrators, academicians, teachers. We all have the responsibility to implement it. The question is, for example, BCom program. Basically, we have to evolve from a 3-year program to a 4-year program. And as I said, maybe 8 or 10, whatever it may be. And for all the 8 BCom programs, we need to have a common course structure, curriculum throughout the country. As of now, honestly, because I'm very serious in implementation, advocating the implementation part of NEP. In India, we don't have, for my domain, there is no a normal standardized system to implement the provisions of NEP from BCom point of view, from the commerce domain point of view. Honestly, it is not there. And our university, as our controller said in the earlier session, that we have moved forward in the implementing, and we are already into the process of adopting the Academic Bank of Credit. The issue is, the basic first core paper when a +2 student enters into a BCom program is Principles of Management, basic paper. What is the credit? Either it is 2 credit paper, 3 credit paper, or 4 credit paper for the basic first course to be learned by a undergraduate program. No understanding throughout the country. No one knows what is the content to be taught, what is the syllabi to be adopted for that particular course. It is for the case 1, but it remains the same for all the subjects in the commerce program. So this is one example which I am giving you, which means that you all know throughout this country, I would even say that there may not be a college, be it maybe a university which is offering an undergraduate program, without offering a BCom program or the types of BComs or a BSc Computer Science. None of the institutions, to my knowledge, because many of the private institutions run because of BCom program and BSc Computer Science program. This is the truth, which means that there may be thousands and thousands of academic institutions in our country which is offering BCom program or the type of BCom programs. Thousands and thousands of academic institutions in our country which is offering a BSc Computer Science program or the variants of that. Which means several lakh students, maybe they need to understand NEP, they need to convert their certificates into academic bank of credits, deposit in the National Depository Registry. All these are the things which came to our mind to organize a conference on national education policy involving leading academic institutions and academic administrators. That is why we are all here today. And this is the 7th session. In the earlier session, the topic was experiences. Experiences. Even we thought of having the topic called hurdles. We removed it. Okay? But now we are going to talk about, in this session, strategizing faster, and in our the theme of this conference, it was strategizing faster and smoother implementation of NEP. Later came a suggestion from Association of Indian Universities, Professor Madam Pankaj Mittal wrote to us saying that why don't you remove the word and smoother, make it a wholesome implementation. And it was in the last moment, and we converted it into strategizing faster and wholesome implementation of NEP. That is the theme of our conference, and that's why it is kept as the point of discussion for our last session. For this session, we have very remarkable noted resource persons. Before that, I wanted to make a remark. It's in the lighter sense. I am the son-in-law of Karnataka. Though I am a Tamil, but I am a son-in-law of the Karnataka soil. Incidentally, it happens, right? Fate directors, Disney directors, and interestingly, I have two vice chancellors from Karnataka. From my own place, Shimoga, Professor Veerabhadrappa, the vice chancellor of Wholesome University, where my wife got educated. So, welcome, Professor. And we have Professor Aital from Srinivas University, Mangalore. Welcome, Professor. We have Dr. Ramakrishna representing Dr. Somya Vidya Vihar University from Mumbai. Welcome, Professor. And Professor Bharati Harishankar, VC of from Kovai, Coimbatore. I was told that a small remark about her. She is a daughter-in-law of a famous scientist. Famous scientist. I wanted to make it on record. Thanks for visiting us, madam. Now I hand over the session to the. Huh? You have to tell that you are right. Yeah, that's good. She's the daughter-in-law of Professor G. Ramachandran. Please, please. Oh.
I love history of institutions. I won't take more than 2 minutes to talk about. Morning also somebody was talking about 74 Nobel laureates in Harvard. He was my classmate. I also discovered him after 35 years. So G.N. Ramachandran, I worked in Madras University. I heard a lot of stories about these great scientists, which we have forgotten. There is a very good documentary on G.N. Ramachandran. I request you to see it. And in Madras University campus, there is a department of biophysics and crystallography. I don't know much about it. And those days, we had similar practices of headhunting, just as Harvard's, Oxford's do these days. Indian universities also had this practice. The then Vice Chancellor of Madras University, A.L. Mudaliar, used to tell his PA to be on the constant lookout for the best talents in the world. One story I know, that is Professor G.N. Ramachandran, and another story is one Polish gentleman who was judge in International Court of Justice. So these were the practices in recruitment. Wherever they are, the university could invite them. And the standing instruction to the administrative staff was by the then Vice Chancellor, they should be provided a room that was much more bigger than the VC's room, more facilities, etc. Because they also got responses to this headhunting by the selected persons, and this International Court of Justice judge wrote back to the VC saying, I accept your offer subject to 2 conditions. One is, during my stay in India, I would not visit for any reason your chamber, VC's chamber. The second condition was, during my stay in India, you should provide me with good facilities. VC wrote back saying 2 conditions are accepted. On the day of his arrival to the campus, the Vice Chancellor, who never stepped out of his room except for 2 occasions, that is, when Prime Minister Nehru visited and when Queen visited, he comes down to the car park to receive the gentleman. And this university professor, law professor, was instrumental for supervising a team of students who went on to write the constitution of Singapore, Malaysia, and many Asian countries. And one such great scientist was G.N. Ramachandran. We have a bust of Ramachandran. And one simple anecdote about Ramachandran is, all of us have read that these two gentlemen were responsible for the double helix model. Forget it. The man who discovered it was Madam's
Father-in-law.
unfortunately, because of then plagiarism or whatever language you want to use, Watson and Crick won the Nobel laureate. I could, during my research, find out there were 4 such university professors, at least in Madras, who missed Nobel by a whisker. So we remember fondly Chandrasekharan's, C.V. Raman's, etc. But we must also remember that during the past, particularly 50s and 60s, there were many Nobel laureate material who missed Nobels by a whisker by some means. So I don't agree with the published thing that Watson and Crick were responsible for double helix model. It was G.N. Ramachandran. Thank you, Madam.
Welcome, Professor Prabha Shankar, Professor Bharati Harishankar for...
Sorry, Professor, for taking...
No, you... And we have another personality, Professor Vajja Sambashiva Rao, who is going to be the rapporteur for this today's 7th session. Was interacting with Professor Rao for the past 2 days. I was just wondering how could, a nice gentleman, thanks for visiting us, Professor. Now I request my co-chair, Dr. Sheduraman, to introduce. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I kindly request our reporter, Sir Rao, to take up the front seat? Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Seduraman, Dean of the School of Technology, Central University of Tamil Nadu, is an academician with more than a decade of experience. Sir's credentials include numerous research projects which are his brainchild, such as growth of pure and doped organic single crystals for skin-related application. Dr. Seduraman has been a part of some of the most famous international institutions, including Konkuk University, MIT, Fraunhofer IEC, Next Generation Solar Cell Research Center, Seoul, South Korea, where Sir rendered his service as a professor for over a year. He is also the recipient of the Japanese Government Fellowship, Department of Electrical Engineering, Aichi Institute of Technology, Toyota, Japan. As a highly scholastic individual, Sir has also collaborated with famous researchers in the field of material science. We welcome you, Sir, to introduce the research persons to the delegates.
Thank you for a nice introduction. So good afternoon to one and all. Today, first session, I'm very happy to invite Professor P.S. Aital. Professor is a Vice Chancellor at Srinivasa University, Mangalore. He has over 27 years of experience in teaching and research and 15 years experience in administration. He has worked as a principal and director at Srinivasa Institute of Management Studies, Mangalore. He has the credit of taking Srinivasa Institute of Management Studies, Mangalore, India to 4th rank among top 1,000 business schools in global business school ranking announced by Elsevier, SSRN Research Network USA during January 2018. So with this, I invite Professor to deliver his talk on strategizing faster and wholesome implementation of NEP 2020. Professor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Professor Dr. Velumurugan, Dean of School of Legal Studies and the chairperson of this session, Dr. K. Sethuraman, Dean School of Technology of Central University, Tamil Nadu, who has introduced the resource persons of this session. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, the team leader, as well as the team members who have planned and organized this effective national conference on National Education Policy 2020. My session is under strategizing faster and wholesome implementation of NEP 2020. What is strategy? Strategy is a shortcut way of ensuring win in your challenges. So how I came up here instead of going in the main road is a strategy. So you have to find a shortcut way to solve your problem. And here challenge is wholesome implementation. So to implement NEP 2020 completely, we have to wait 4 years because it is a 4 years challenge. So we have started, many of the universities and institutions in different states have already started implementation of NEP 2020. We being a private university, we took it as a challenge and an opportunity. We have encashed this opportunity in 21-22 and introduced NEP along with our state government, Karnataka state government. Introducing NEP was easy because of this Corona, COVID-19. People changed their mindset for change. So NEP 2020 was implemented in the bottom instead of top. In colleges and universities, at undergraduation level, in arts, science and humanities, NEP is introduced. But in engineering and other medical sciences, it is yet to be introduced in many states. So this is an experience, new experience of introducing NEP and speeding up to complete and to get the advantage of NEP 2020. As Dr. Velumurgan said, this is one of the best model to promote higher education in any country, and this takes care of changes in the technology. So why we have to speed up the implementation of NEP is we have to implement NEP before it becomes obsolete. This is very important. So nothing can be permanent in this world. Everything becomes obsolete. So we have to implement and get the advantages of this NEP to improve the quality of life in the society. I have a lot of issues to discuss, but because of the time, I will only summarize my presentation. I have published 3 papers on NEP. First one is when it was announced as a draft copy. I have analyzed this NEP based on challenges, opportunities, as well as strength and weakness. That is SWOT model. Then once in 2020 it was introduced officially by central government. Then I analyzed this model based on ABCD framework. Then in 2020 I have published one paper which you can get through Google Scholar search. I publish only in open access journals. There should not be any constraint for any readers to read my papers. And I retain my copyright. I won't give copyright to any publisher. So these are 21st century models of publication. So you can get more about this based on using various strategies in my paper. If you search P.S. Saitali NEP 2020, you will get all the 3 papers in Google Scholar. Then you can freely download, and if you have interest, you can read. Now I will discuss this based on strategic management model. Though I am a scientist in physics till my postdoctoral research. Then I shifted to information technology. Then I shifted to business management. I did my second PhD in business management. And then I have shown interest in managing technology. So I have published some papers on technology management. And I got DSc in technology management. So based on interest, you have a freedom to become multitasker, which is the principle of NEP 2020. So you can choose your subjects on any area. You need not continue in a single subject, whether you have taken it by choice or chance. But you can choose other subjects also, and you can progress in your studies so that you can be a lifelong learner. So continuous learning is very important in our life. Now coming to the goal and objective of NEP 2020. So we need a well-defined and futuristic education policy for country due to the reason that education leads economic and social progress. So we believe that both economic and social progress is possible by educated people. Then the objective of NEP 2020 is to provide high quality, low cost education to everyone. So this we have to keep in our mind. How to make a higher education low cost. So when you improve the quality, cost will go up. It is not the strategy. The strategy says you should improve the quality and make your customers satisfied and delight, but you should make your product or service low cost. So how we can achieve this high quality and low cost is our challenge. So how we can formulate strategies to make our education both at lower high school level as well as college level or university level, high quality and low cost. So in this process, technology will help us to make our education low cost and high quality. At the same time, technology will help us to make education reachable to everyone in this entire world. So we have to make use of technology, and we should also see what are the futuristic technologies. Why I told NEP is going to be obsolete. If you analyze the opportunities of NEP in a long range, so we have to speed up NEP and get the advantage as early as possible. Before technology reaches the next stage, we have to take the advantage of NEP, and we should see that quality of life is improved. Now, why transformation in Indian higher education system is required? So we had a session yesterday that Indianizing higher education. Our professor also told many Indians were eligible to get many awards, including Nobel Award, but they missed because of some kind of lobbies. So we should Indianize. We should come out with our own system. We should respect our tradition and culture. Somebody, see, when you speak about industry and education, technology, Industry 1.0, Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0, Industry 4.0. Presently we are with the Industry 4.0, using 4.0 technologies. And we are also with the Education 4.0. But some people who goes to foreign country and comes back, they start pronouncing this zero as O. So this is a fashion. We should respect our people. See, zero is invented by India, and it is a 4.0, not 4.0. If you don't know how to write a zero and O differently, then entire higher education is going to be waste. So in our computer system also, keyboard also, O is different, zero is different. And 4.0 is the current industry. It is 4.0, not 4.0. In this way, we have to Indianize our culture and tradition. we should respect our people who invented and contributed to us, which is one of the principle of NEP 2020. So we have to create a system from teacher center to student center. So this ABC model allows students to become independent. Teacher cannot control our students by hook or crook, you should do this, otherwise I will fail you. Lot of troubles were given in olden days by professors to students. Now, if we continue this, students will run away from our institution to another institution next year because of ABC model. So, traditional classroom based to experiential based. So, we have to send them to outside industries. 25% classroom, 25% industries, 25% peers, and 25% self-learning, as IIM director said yesterday. Then subject-oriented to industry-oriented, knowledge-driven to skill-driven, and new knowledge creation-driven. Skill will change as per requirement, as per change in technology. Whatever skill I learn today need not be useful tomorrow. But knowledge, whatever I learned and whatever I contributed to create new knowledge is a permanent. So knowledge, new knowledge should be emphasized, but at the same time, life skills are essential. So if you don't live today, there is no tomorrow for you. Today is very important to me. If I don't have today, there is no point of thinking about tomorrow. So, theory, from theory-based to syllabus, theory-based syllabus to project-based syllabus where learning will be fast. Then lesson-driven to research-driven. Monodisciplinary to multidisciplinary. STEM to STEAM. So, people have to further grow. STEAM is the essence of NEP 2020, not STEM. STEAM is, there is one A. A is nothing but art, culture and design. So along with your science, technology, then engineering and mathematics, you should also focus on arts, culture and design in school education as well as higher education. So this STEAM is the focus of NEP 2020, not STEM. Then from memorization based evaluation to competency based evaluation. This is again going to be a major area where in future days based on NEP and online education systems, super professors are going to emerge. So many of you will become super professors. If you become a popular professor to entire world in a identified area where you have developed your super speciality, so then you can become super professor. You can have lakhs of students in your classrooms, online classrooms, whereas others who will not improve themselves will become evaluation professors. So where you should decide whether you will become super professor or evaluation professor. Evaluation is another area to emerge. So those students who create required credits, say 400 credits to get a, not 400, about 40 credits per year means it is 160 credits for a bachelor degree program. So once you get one or accumulate 160 credits in your ABC, your academic bank of credits, then you can apply any university to get a degree. So the university will evaluate your credits for which some teachers are required. So unless you become super professor, you can become evaluation professor in universities. Then from degree completion focus to employability and entrepreneurship completion focus. From campus based to ubiquitous. So this is the future. From monopoly closed system to competitive open system. So these are certain opportunities, and we should create a system under 2020, National Education Policy 2020, to answer these questions. Now finally, I will not go into deep, but the opportunity for higher education is less than school education in terms of innovations, because students learn 15 years in school education system, 5 years foundation, 3 years preparatory, 3 years middle, and 4 years secondary, where we have to provide holistic education with all subjects model. So they should be multidisciplinary till 12th standard. After that, we should make them specialist. So in higher education, we should make them specialist. Our economic professors agree with me that all economic theory says that we should super specialize in a given area. Then only we can create a positive sum game. Our international business is a positive sum game, where countries super specializes in certain commodities creation. So super specialty is very important. We cannot say that every student should study all the subjects throughout his life. No. So till 12th standard, general, then in higher education, some subjects are minor subjects, but the major subjects are important, because every human being should become super specialized in a given subject or given area. So here, the student-centric flexible ABC through digital university will help us to solve and achieve the goal of NET 2020 to make GE gross admission ratio, enrollment ratio to the required level, 50% or 100%. I will come to that point. So I think I will skip this. So we have to increase GER. Why? Because increasing GR is not so easy. We should formulate certain strategies through the higher policy making bodies. In our NEP, the top policy making body is Higher Education Council, Commission of India, Higher Education Commission of India. But it has not been formulated till now. We announced NEP 2020 in 2020. But till today, the formulation body, policy formulation body is not instituted. And 4 verticals are also not instituted. We are again appointing a new UGC chairman. We have advertised a new AICT chairman. But we are not thought of Higher Education Policy Commission. Unless we formulate policy, all universities and institutions will think from their own angle. So we have implemented NEP from our own angle by going through the NEP policies. But tomorrow, if there is any changes, then again we have to change this. So strategy should be from the top for implementing these policies, not from the bottom. I think I have to stop here. So I will come to one very important area, that is future changes due to technology. Why NEP is not permanent? Why there are changes further anticipated due to various generations based on technology? I am belonging to Generation X. I born after 1965. Similarly, the next generation is tech generation, I am telling, is Generation Y. They used a different type of gadgets for their education. Their habits, learning habits are also different. So now we have from 1995 to 2015, born people or the born children are considered as Generation Z or Z. Their learning habits are different. Currently, 2016 onwards, the current children are born by seeing mobile phone only. In LKG also, our children used mobile phone for learning due to our speed up or accelerator, COVID-19. So, online only, based on artificial intelligence, simulation, virtual reality, ubiquitous education technologies will make our future generation to choose only online courses. online degrees. So by that time, our entire model should be reframed. So I see the 4 stages of future generation. Accordingly, we have to strategize our NEP. The first stage is the current stage. So till 2028, it may continue, where we have to use blended pedagogy, blended delivery. We have started online classes soon after announcing lockdown in 2019. And that experience made us to continue partly with the online model, because there are many advantages in online model. You can use some experts from different places to give lectures or classes through simulation to your students. So we have continued the blended model currently also. Our students attends 3 days classroom classes, 1 day co-curricular activities, and 2 days online classes. So this is the model we continued, called blended model. But the next stage is after availability of low-cost internet through satellites. So somebody told internet problem. So we are going to address it soon. So we have thousands of satellites, and they will take care of the internet facility in everywhere, including Himalayan remote places, so that internet is not going to be a problem in future days. So once such technologies are developed, then why you should come and sit here and waste your time? Time is going to be very, very important resource in future days for the people. So there will be a lot of changes in the higher education system, and accordingly the strategies will also change. So we always, this is the last slide, we always mimic human beings should become like God. We have created a God's picture in our mind in all religion. God is alone, one. There is one God who created this entire universe. And he is omnipresence, means ubiquitous. God is there. Here is also God is there. Everywhere. So we also should be like God. We should be everywhere. We should be able to see or meet or speak with anybody, anywhere in the world, which is possible through information, communication, and computation technology. So we have reached the God level because of our omnipresence through technology. Now the second attribute is omnipotent. We need huge energy, which is renewable. So our technology will give us enough energy, and soon the energy will be free for everyone. Then omniscience or infinite knowledge. So we are going to connect brain to brain, brain to computers. Already our certain companies are working on it. Our Tesla company CEO has started another company called Neuralink, and he is claiming that he has reached the stage of connecting brain, computer using small microchips, and they are doing clinical trial now. So within 5 to 10 years it will be realized. After that, no school or college education. The students will become graduates at their 3rd year age. So this many of you may not agree, but technology is changing. Once the technology changes, definitely it will happen. And similarly, we are going to develop super intelligent machines. Machines will be intelligenter than human beings. This is also an argument, but definitely happens. And the company, Google's DeepMind, is already announced that they have reached the general intelligence level by means of neural technology. It is already working in laboratory level, and it has to be commercialized. So once these kind of technologies comes, then there is no opportunity for teachers. Only super professors will control entire higher education. And these are the changes going to happen. This is just an idea. So everything will become obsolete with the time. So we should implement our NEP starting from top-down model. The details are given in one of the Okay. Model I have shown here. So actually implementation should be like this. Strategies of stakeholders. Government, central government and state government should provide the required environment by creating the required policies through agencies. So right people should be appointed for these agencies. Then universities, autonomous institutions should implement it. Then administrators, faculties and students should accept it and promote it. Then aspirants and parents as well as citizens should get the benefit of it. So I think I will stop here and thank you for giving an opportunity. There is no point of discussing the
Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor M. Krishnan to honor our first research person of the session, Professor P.S. Haital. May I also invite Professor P.S. Velmurugan sir and Dr. Sethu Raman to join us on the stage. Professor P.S. Haital sir is to leave earlier, so please give him a round of applause for the session. Thank you, sirs. Next, let me invite Dr. Sethu Raman for inviting the next resource person. So, please.
So, I am very happy to invite second speaker of this session, Dr. Ramakrishnan K. Sundaran. He is an eminent person with 10 language skills, and he has visited various countries for academic activities, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and Malaysia and Thailand. Dr. Ramakrishnan has taken up many positions in administrative, clinical, and presently consultative and research dean. Sir has been a core committee member in NAC 5 cycles, including IQAC chairpersons, member, mock and core committee members, and then passionate researcher with he has published more than 61 research articles. Sir is a senior member, quality assurance in university level, central core committee, practitioner of general and clinical psychology, sports psychology, etc. Sir has been selected for fellowship by the World HR Board Fund and have won then Vimala Shankar Memorial Scholarship. Sir is the director in the renowned SI Association Educational Trust for Health Sciences and a consultant in various leading institutions for starting of health science courses. Awarded the Best Scientist Award in 2020 and Capsin Fellow from Poland, Europe. With this, I invite Professor.
Good afternoon. I thought mine would be the first session after the lunch, but Aital sir took the honor, to wake the audience here after a good lunch. My part, I wanted to emphasize on the wholesome implementation. Although it's faster and wholesome, already there are a lot of strategies that have been put for faster implementation. And why I chose the topic wholesome is there are certain area which is considered to be professional courses which has been left out. One of the huge left outs is the health science. And when we talk about health, we always think MBBS or the medical course is the only health science course. It is just the creamy layer, and the cream is churned from down the other courses which are very important, and the support system for the entire health sciences. A doctor spends hardly 10 minutes with the patient. A nurse spends hours with the patient. So she is having more knowledge about the patient than the doctor. In fact, the nurse will be briefing the doctor, and the information known to the doctor is just the brief. So with that, I would like to say how we can implement this in medical courses so that, they are not left out, and we are not here to construct wall between other courses and medical or other one other professional course and the general course. In fact, we have to build bridges, not the walls. So that is very, very important. And with that saying, I will just go. Is this working? Yeah? I should turn it? Yeah, sorry. So these are the few courses we have kept for today's analysis, which starts from Bachelor in Physiotherapy, Occupational Therapy, Pharmacy, and a list of courses which are considered either health sciences or allied health sciences or paramedical sciences, whatever you call it. The main problem with these courses is that these courses are currently not in the core of the NEP. The NEP talks in few of the experts, when you read the document very clearly, it talks about health care and everything, but in two aspects primarily it concentrates. One, it says health specific university could offer other courses. So that courses can be offered both for the health science professional as well as other professional who is coming to the health science university to learn a few credits. The second part is that generic universities which are offering the health science courses. That means, for example, sir was there in the morning, he was from IGNO. So IGNO is having a health science, at least it's a faculty, or few courses they are offering. So what about them? How they can also participate in the NEP, how they can also earn cross credits, and how credit based system can be a principle for them to implement it in health science courses also. So I'm just put a small table. Okay. So this table we all are familiar about this. How many credits for a bachelor from the beginning of a certificate program, which is as good, then a diploma program, then a 3-year, bachelor degree, and then a 4-year upgraded bachelor degree, and then it comes to postgraduate diploma, which could be the 1 year extra for a 3-year bachelor person, and then finally a master's degree, which would be 2 years for a 3-year bachelor course and 1 year for a 4-year master's person, and then PhD. So if I put this into a credit, I have taken two courses here. One is a completely council regulated course. The reason we are afraid, we are not much afraid with UGC because they don't come for regular inspections, they come at periodical, but we are very afraid about councils because the council is a professional council. They keep coming for inspection and it is a big headache because you have to balance academics. In medical science you have to balance clinic, research, and this council fellow will frequently come and start, they are not like even NAC. NAC is only coming 5 years once, but here the council will come for every year. So here I have worked out a methodology where the same table what you saw last slide, the same slide, but how I can make it practical for a person. One may be a physiotherapy background and another is a pharmacy background. Pharmacy is a very well regulated profession as well as academia. They are very well regulated. That is the only academic in India where the pharmacy council directly regulate the practice. Even in medical, the medical practice is not regulated. It is regulated by the local bodies. Only the academic side they are regulating. So here how I have designed is once the person acquires the certification, he can start going and working, which is now indirectly happening. He can start going and working as an assistant in a medical, in his own professional doctor's hospital, not as an independent practice, but as an assistant. So this would ensure some stipend to that person, and when it is done through the university system. Then next he acquires a diploma, 1 level higher assistant he becomes. Again, this will ensure him for something. Now, a 3-year UG program in majority of the thing is not feasible in a professional course. So we have to think about a 4-year UG degree, and 4-year UG, PG, 3-year PG degree may be thought over in certain rural pockets where there is hardly any doctor or there is hardly any practitioner of any particular field of therapy. Then comes the professional UG degree, which would lead to their licensing and independent practice. And after that, a master's which would give him either a regular or a generic master's, and then followed by a clinical doctorate. Clinical doctorate is not research doctorate. Aital sir has started the first clinical doctorate in India for physiotherapy. Similarly, JSS University, 8 years back, they started the Doctor of Pharmacy course. The entire India laughed at them. Who is going to take this course? This is an American course. But today they are all behind starting Doctor of Pharmacy course. So that would be a clinical doctorate. And finally, at level 10, they can join for the PhD. So this is systematically, if you see, this the same evaluation I have done for the pharmacy as well. Both physiotherapy and pharmacy I have done this evaluation. Only thing in pharmacy, any particular council related thing, we have to consult the council for making the syllabus uniform. And then comes a very interesting question whether the others, a general person can take some courses, because suppose, for example, somebody is studying cognitive psychology, they want to take some neuroscience course. They should be allowed to take it for the sake of knowledge and research. They may not be able to practice neurology, but that is okay. They can at least do a research on neurology on the basis of this cross-credit system. So we are not here to build the wall, but to build the bridge. Only thing is, who will be licensed to practice, that the council will take care, either through an examination or a qualifying system. The same thing, I have certain questions which I would put it across. What about those who are dropouts? What are we having? So we are always talking about present and future, but we are not talking about the past. Anybody who has done most of the credits, fourth year BE, only one paper I failed. I have all the mark sheets with me. What about them? Well, shall we introduce them in the NEP, make them to study a specific course and graduate them in their engineering degree, so that like some of them say, sir, I am not getting promotion because I am not a graduate or I am not a postgraduate. Okay, there are people who have reached the pinnacle, almost finishing stage of their PhD, and then they are not able to complete the PhD. Now we are talking about flexibility, multiple entry, multiple exit. We should think about these people of the past, pull them from past to future. This is a very important task we should be all thinking about. If we don't do that, we are not doing justice to the 100% citizens of India. We are only thinking about the present and future. So this is one of the most important thing I would like to emphasize, that the dropouts are those who can be, if he cannot go for graduation, he can get a certificate, or he can take a diploma. So somehow, making the credits available. And again, old certificates, we have to do DMAT format. That is how we have ABC now. The old certificate, you have to go and present it to a specific university, and a specific university should do some justice and enter it in the ABC system, so that he gets the flexibility of credits. Otherwise, the entire thing is only for present students and future students. We have never thought about a huge population who is either not graduated, a person who is, stopped his study, a dropout. Okay, so here we are Sabke Saath and Sabka Vikas. We have to follow that scheme, and we all academicians have to think very seriously about accommodating those housewives who don't have a degree, or an underclerk who has not completed his master's, how to make his Vikas possible. So with these words, I cut short my speech, because there are other people here to take over. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
So 3 days back we have the discussion on December.
Yes.
Vice Chancellor,
Yes, sir.
our chairman for UTC. So I think you can also keep the mind
Yes, sir.
whether we can have the 7-grade system or 10-grade system. What you told there.
Yes, sir.
Can you look at it?
Definitely, sir. And in fact, in many of the Central University perspective plan, I went to Himachal Pradesh, they have kept health science courses in their ambit.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you don't need to own a hospital for everything. TMA Pence, when he started Manipal Hospital, he never had an hospital. He took a government hospital, made a tie-up MOU, and started his health science course. That was the first medical college in the history. Sir would appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Ramakrishnan, sir, for your presentation on wholesome implementation of national educational policy, its requirements and educational metrics. Let me invite Dr. Sethuraman, sir, to invite the next resource person for the session.
So, it is my pleasure to introduce third speaker of this session, Professor V. Bharati Harisankar, one of the famous women in deemed university in our country. We have an able administrator and great leader. Professor Bharati Harisankar was a scholar from the Department of English, University of Hyderabad, and a member of the School Board of Humanities. Currently, ma'am is Vice Chancellor of Avinashi Lingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women, Coimbatore. Madam was a head of Women's Studies, the Director of IQAC and Director of HRDC at the University of Madras, recognized post-colonial studies scholar and also instrumental in setting up the Gender Lab at the University of Madras. Professor Bharati Harisankar was nominated to the Royal Society for the Arts in 2020. Now I request Madam to take over the session.
Good afternoon. First of all, many thanks to Professor Krishnan and his team for inviting me over for this particular conference, and also senior colleagues like Professor Ravindran, who I'm meeting after a very long time here, and also heartfelt, and I'm humbled by the kind of memories that still the name of Professor GNR evokes wherever we go. So thank you all for making this possible. I want to make a few disclaimers. This is what happens when we are presenting in the final session, because there are things that we thought we would put forward as the first, and it is already been put forward by others, which is the way it should be. First and foremost, I'm reaching out to an eclectic set of ideas that have emerged since yesterday. One is, let us not take NEP and its implementation as a binary logic, as Professor Ravindran said. Extending that same argument, let us not look at it as a list of checkboxes where we say, I have done this, I have not done this. I think that is not the point of NEP at all. So let us not keep to the letter and take ourselves away from the spirit of the national education policy. The second is the implementation that we are looking for. I mean, at this stage, I'm only talking about implementation. I'm not really talking about faster and wholesome. Because first we need to have a plan of action for implementation before we say how fast or how slow we are going to take it forward, and whether we are going to take it in parcels or we are going to take it comprehensively. So that is where I'm only providing one perspective. Can we harness the online education that we have for achieving the gross enrollment ratio of 50%? And is there a NEP 2020 way of doing it? Yeah. Oops. No. Okay. So before we do that, I mean, I know a lot of us have spoken about online education as a way forward, but please allow me to go through a few key ideas that it would be apposite to have in mind. The impact of ICTs on teaching and learning predated the pandemic. So there are multiple ways, and as Professor Kamakoti was pointing out in the morning, there have been several generations of using ICTs as a way of conducting our teaching and learning interaction. But the impact of ICTs did several transformations even before we came to the pandemic. So for instance, gone are the days when the teacher is a provider of information and a sage on the stage. We have moved, we have crossed that already. We are looking at teaching as a role, a facilitative role in the transaction of teaching and learning. So already that is a major shift. And secondly, I think we have started looking at teachers and learners as moving through the trajectory of learning together. So there is a lot of intended and unintended transactions that happen. And of course, thanks to the pandemic, I'm aware that I've said thanks to the pandemic because before the pandemic, there were people who liked ICTs in the classroom and there were people who did not like. So it was very clear, black and white. But pandemic somehow forced a lot of us into the online teaching and learning, whether we wanted to or not. But at a national level, what is very interesting is the Digital India and the proposal to move our nation towards a knowledge economy had also taken shape. These two happened parallelly. And I don't think, we always talk about these two separately, but it's very useful to look at them together. So what really happened between the first two is that the positioning of teachers and learners in the educational system modified slowly but steadily, so much so we are now more or less clear that the teaching learning has to be learner focused. We are also equally clear that teacher is the facilitator. But the more important question that remains even unanswered in part is how do we process, how do we teach learners to process information or data into knowledge? Our learners have more information than we have as teachers. But how do we convert the information or data that we have into knowledge? And that is where the positioning of teachers and learners are now getting adjusted and readjusted fairly frequently. So all of these, the reason for using ICTs earlier was to bring the best teacher into all classrooms, the best teaching practices into the classroom, the best resources into the classroom. But now we are saying we need to reach the unreached. Because if we talk about GER 50, we are looking at unreached not only in terms of access, but we are also looking at very, very strong socio-cultural factors in terms of caste, class, religion, location, which is going to affect not only the kind of access, but also the kind of education that is available for the unreached population in our society. So I'm not going to go into detail, but the column that you see on your left, we very often use them interchangeably. All I want to say is they are not interchangeable. They are related terms, but each of these have a specific reason why we use. Why we use the online as opposed to e-learning or as opposed to technology enabled. The reason is there are certain choices in teaching and learning that we make, and all of these are options available to us. In particular, I would like to point to the last two, the open educational resource, which is kind of creating a knowledge base, a database, which if we are very keen on the concept of becoming a Vishwa Guru, we need to adopt this because India has a lot to give. India is not always taking from others, but India has a lot to give. And MOOCs, of course, which we have, which has revolutionized, in a certain sense, how we look at education. So what you see on the right are different aspects in which online education is given as of now. But there again, I am not going to go into details, but I want to highlight the last point, how do we match our pedagogies and technologies? So for instance, right through the pandemic, what we had in mind was, to what extent is learning happening? What type of teaching are we doing? Is it enough? But now, we also need to ask a related question: is there a template to evaluate the pedagogies that we are using in online teaching and learning? And if yes, what are the pedagogies and how are they different from the existing pedagogies? And until and unless we answer that question, we will always be tempted to look at technology as a panacea for poor teaching and learning. But instead, we need to ask the question, how do we match technologies and pedagogies, on the one hand to reach out to a lot of people, but on the other also to say, can we evaluate and reevaluate our own teaching and learning practices? So what can online learning do? This again is something which was dealt with in detail in Dr. Kanabiran's talk, the whole notion of skilling. So skills, we have known by experience now, has a very short shelf life. So there is continuous skilling, reskilling, cross-skilling, upskilling that online learning can give us. Second, self-paced learning. I mean, a learner can choose to be 100% in a classroom, 100% into a program, or can choose to devote a certain percentage of his or her life to learning. And that self-pacing is what online gives us. It can give us even more seamlessly than the multiple entry exit, which is the next one. Fourth is, online learning increasingly, I mean, we have raised a lot of queries on online learning between skills and competencies. Are we providing skills? Providing skills in online learning is easy, but providing competencies seems to necessitate a teacher in a classroom and peer learning. But now, increasingly, we are looking at virtual transnational education scenarios which provide these virtually, how to transform skills into competencies. But in order to do that, we need to go what is now popularly called glonal. The term glonal just means how do we map individual, local, national, and global, not only work requirements, but also competencies that will enable us to survive. So NEP 2020 has some very, very interesting take. And one thing that I like is the kind of synergy that it points out when it states that there is a bi-directional relationship between technology and education. If you recall, I said a minute ago how mapping the pedagogy to technology is important, but it is also important to ask what is the underlying philosophy that can help us map the available technology to the type of education we intend to provide. And of course, NEP also talks about new and disruptive technologies to foster critical thinking and creativity. And another very important aspect that I liked about the NEP 2020 is the National Educational Alliance for Technology, which will act as a single portal to offer various educational technology solutions. And that, if you notice, will help us localize the educational resources that already exist, but it would seamlessly integrate our academic bank of credits, our multiple entry exit, even the vision for a multidisciplinary education. But in addition, what it also offers is the notion of teacher and student entrepreneur. And here, I would like to say, we have always thought of entrepreneurship as a placement option for our students, but we fail to think that even while we are teachers and professors, we still can have a pursuit in entrepreneurship. So, what does this flexible, anytime, anywhere learning afford us in terms of education as we look at the classroom. It would give us skill enhancement, knowledge acquisition. But what it can also do for entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship. About entrepreneurship is what we have been doing so far. The minute we say entrepreneurship, we put a 4-credit course. But entrepreneurship in the real world is something else. So we need education for entrepreneurship, which is practice-oriented, and there are seamless virtual labs which are now providing that experience. And we talk about equity of access, but we also need to look at equitable use of technology to achieve this. So what we can look forward to, we were in the era of 3 E's, education, employment, and we thought it would give us empowerment, but we know that there is an intervening step where there is education, employment, entrepreneurship, which should give us the empowerment that we are looking for. Unfortunately, there are a few steps that are required, and those steps are, we talk about either presence or absence of digital access, or presence and absence of digital divide. But what we fail to acknowledge is the era, the generation today are whom we may call digital natives. They are born with this technology, so in a certain sense, they can get together as a group, as a set of informed thinking individuals as digital natives, and this has been tapped already by a couple of international universities, including the State University of New York, where they have a collaborative online international learning called COIL. But what India can allow us to do is, by balancing the equity and equitable access to online education with rigorous quality regulations, that empowerment for India is going to be a very new cultural amalgam. And that is a cultural amalgam which will very effectively bring in the indigenous knowledge system to a global arena. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Bharati Harishankar, Madam, for your kind words on making us understand how teachers are learners in the era of 4 E's and teaching practices to reach the unreached and mapping a lifelong learning system to empower the country. Thank you, Madam. There is a small announcement. Our Honorable Minister and the rest of the dignitaries are about to arrive for the valedictory function. So if any one of you have parked your cars nearby the entrance, please park it away from the entrance. Once you're outside, our volunteers will guide you. If any one of you have parked your vehicles outside the entrance, nearby the entrance, kindly park it away from the entrance. Our volunteers will guide you once you're outside. Thank you. Next, let me invite Dr. Sethuraman for Dr. Sethuraman, sir, to introduce the next resource person. Thank you.
So with the utmost pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, Professor Prabha Shankar Shukla, who is an eminent scientist in the field of agriculture, specializing in seed science and technology. So before joining as a Vice Chancellor of Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, Professor Shukla was serving as a professor in GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Uttarakhand. During his 29 years of experience in teaching and research, Sir has published 48 research papers, 60 articles, and 8 books and manuals. Professor Shukla is the recipient of Scientist of the Year, awarded both in 2011 and 2015 in Bangkok, Thailand. And besides being a teacher and researcher, he has also served in various administrative positions. And then presently, he is also serving as a joint director of breeder seed production in GB Pant University. I kindly request Professor Shukla to address the gathering. Professor.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
rapporteur of the session, chairman of the session, and the previous speakers already reduced my burden. He already talked so many things about the new education policy. And I know after the lunch, it is very difficult to listen the lecture. Because I am seeing some drowsiness faces here. I'm not going to take the much time. I'm just going to show my slide. Nothing going to discuss. Maximum thing already discussed. Would like to discuss only few things. Just this is. Everybody knows this. The new education policy and implementation of new education policy and institutional restructuring and consolidation and role of the student and the first area of the new education policy already discussed. And quality higher education must enable the personal accomplishment and enlightenment, constructive public engagement, and productive contribution to the society. And all the things that's I also not going to discuss here. The new architecture of the higher education. We always taking the name of Takshila, Nalanda, University of the country. Why we are going again repeating the name of those universities? It means universities had something, but where is the lakeness in our system? And where is the weakness in our system? Yesterday, I was in a convocation, I was in a exhibition of the Organic Expo. Someone mentioned that we have more than 1,050 universities in the country. We have more than 4,000. In some 4,500, in some data 4,000 approx and 3,991 like that. But how many Nobel laureate or how many scientists received the Nobel laureate from our country? Total number of 9. But out of 9, only 2 from the Indian universities. This is a real position of our education system. We all are expert in our areas. We all are doing in our areas. But why we not achieve the top position in the science, technology, agriculture, and other areas? It shows that there is some weakness in our system. New education policy scheme. Already discussed the 3 types of research universities, teaching universities, and autonomous degree granting colleges. We are doing the research. But which type of research? Either the problem solving research or the basic research or the active research. In which area? I am very confident to say that if I am going to just ask a question from the university's professors, the center university, 45 center universities already developed so many technologies in different areas. But how many technology they commercialized? The number of the professors are in unit, single unit. Only few. Because before going to plan a research, only few going to plan the hypothesis. Why I am going to doing the research in this area or in this topic? This is a need of the hour or this is a not need of the hour. this is a problem solving of the local areas, or this is a problem solving of the state, or this is a problem solving of the nation. That's why a big gap is still going on in the research education system. What is our problem? What is the problem of the local areas? What is the problem of the state? We weren't going to discuss anything, fix a topic, started our research activities. Major thrust areas of the new education policy is already discussed. That's why I need not to discuss in detail, because I have only, I think, 6-7 minutes rest. Yeah. Another thing, the major restructuring of the curriculum. The curriculum ERC, just like the previous speakers, BSc in biotechnology, BSc in radiology, BSc in even different type of BScs. But anybody in position to say that the need of the graduate in this country, the need of the technologist in country in 1 year, we have any data in the country level? I think no one in position to say that. We don't have any data. We are every year producing the graduates. We are every year producing the technologists. But we don't have any data. What are the requirements of our country? So there should be a data of the country level. The next thing about the stage-wise mechanization granting of autonomy of the colleges. Colleges also doing the same work, but someone is saying, due to lack of the facilities, colleges are not in position to do research activity. Every time we are discussing about the facilities. And we know the position of the university, we know the position of our college, and we know the position of the country. I would like to give you one example. Yesterday, I have received a mail from my one friend from the Florida. Mr. Shukla, you know, what is the actual position of the Indian education? America expend or prepare the graduate, 1 lakh graduate for $16 trillion. And India, just like vice versa. How we think about the quality? How we think about the quality? This is just like the vice versa. Focus on the different plans, action, effectiveness, already discussed by the different speakers, so not going to discuss in detail. But what are the reality? What are the expectations from the parents from their child after taking the degree as a graduate in technologies or in arts or in any other subject? All are expecting my child are in some position to do some work. But what are the real feelings among the students? They always wanting for a job. Never think about, can I a job provider? Only few, but a kind of discussion, a kind of things. And Professor Hari Shankar, the ex-speaker, already clearly mentioned here. The situation should be changed. A kind of discussion should start in the campuses, or you can say in the academic campuses of the country. how can I or a university commercialize their knowledge, their technologies? Multidisciplinary institution, that is already discussed, so need not to discuss in detail here. And having the different number of globalization of the higher education. Other countries are interested to establish their university, either Oxford or any other in the country. Why it is? Why not we are ready to establish our universities in other countries? Are we in position? Are we have the technologies of that level? This is a challenge. Unreserved regions, actions, already discussed the same thing, to need not to discuss in detail, to increase the garage involvement ratio in higher education, vocationalization, like that. The motivational energies and the capabilities, how to develop the capabilities, service conditions, career progression, and professional development, leadership skills, the kind of subjects it's required. Always worry about to develop a new course, new subject, and new department in the universities. So this is a time to rethink and refix the mottos of your universities. So this is the need of the hour. From last 15 year, 50 year, or 100 year, how many universities change their objectives? Before the independence, the objective and situations was different. But at present time, the situation is entirely different. So this is also a time to refix, rethink about the objectives of the university and frame a system in the universities from department to school or colleges and then university level. A short-term where copyright-free education resources will be available in multidisciplinary languages. Language is also one of the things. Only new education policy provide us a chance to discuss your idea, to write your idea in your own language. Means mother languages. After the mother languages, then you can turn or translate into the national and international languages. But we have the tool and technologies. Going to discuss about the Japanese. Japanese always have the tools in their hand to change and translate the sentences in the Japanese languages, from international languages to rural languages. So this is also time to develop the technology, to translate the regional languages into the national and international languages. Then we will in a position to develop a kind of new academic arena in the country. Restructuring costs, financial management, this is already discussed within the university. And this is also discussed. I think I have one minute time? 2 minutes? Yeah. Regulatory system of the higher education. Ministry of the Education also shows the figure Ministry of Human Resource, MHRD, then Ministry of Education, University Grant Commission, and the Higher Education Council of India. And especially, I think Vice Chancellors know, before 2 days, a commission is already constituted by the Government of India. And the Capability Building Commission. And anyone can show their capability. On the basis of capability, not only the university, a professor will be the member of that committee. But first thing you show, that I am a capable professor, I have the expertization in this area, and I can do something for the nation and the country. And this is a first kind of thinking started in this country. Regulatory system of higher education, everybody knows, so need not to discuss here in detail. In the last, I would like to say that in the form of the conclusion, just you can say, the major fundamental principle of the new education policy, as laid down by the principles and guidelines, are assess equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. And accountability should be more emphasized in the future. The policy indicates the direct that the education system should develop good citizen with rational and intellectual thinking, compassion, empathy, courage, resilience, scientific temperament, creative thinking, and application, and ethical values. I think new education policy will play an important role in this area. Thank you, Khublai and Mitela.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us on the new architecture of higher education, highlights on research, thrust areas and needs for changing the curriculum. Next, let me invite Dr. Sethuraman to invite the last resource person for the session.
So I am very delighted to introduce Professor B.B. Veerabhadrappa, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu University, Karnataka. Sir has served as the chairperson of the Department of Economics, Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Finance Officer, and later as the Vice Chancellor in charge of Devangiri University. Professor has visited a prestigious London School of Economics, Oxford University, Cambridge, Trinity College, Royal University of Scotland, Edinburgh. He is associated with many professional organizations such as Indian Economic Association. He was a visiting fellow in different institutions. Sir has widely published in international journals and a guided research scholar. He has been the editor-in-chief of Kuvempu University Economic Journal and editor of Southern Economist. He is a peer reviewer for Indian Economic Journal and is the advisory board of the journal International Business Management. We welcome you, sir.
Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tamil Nadu, Professor Krishnanji, Professor Velu Murugan, Professor Sethuraman, all the respected Vice Chancellors of different universities of India, directors, educationists, all the respected ladies and gentlemen, my dear student friends. I skip my PPT just to speak on 3 issues. As Vice Chancellor of Kuvempu University in Karnataka, I have a great difficulties right from the students community as well as the teaching community. When you go for a hardcore, when you go for soft core, when you go for open elective, as I come from rural university, many of the colleges do not have classrooms, do not have required expertise teaching staff. Maybe I talk about IoT, machine learning, or maybe artificial intelligence, but do we have experts? Maybe in cosmopolitan and metropolitan cities, we get experts. But when you go into the deeper regional parts of India, then what is the role of higher educational institutions as to what is the role of a Vice Chancellor? Professor Krishnan worked as the Vice Chancellor of Madurai Kamaraj University, and now he is the Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Central University. There are major difficulties for Vice Chancellors, either from the recruitment or from providing facilities to the students community. Now we talk about world arena of education. Yesterday our Honorable Governor was talking about as to how do we be able to teach in the mother tongue. As to what is the NEP that would be able to give the opportunities for interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary, multidisciplinary approaches. Multiple entry and also multiple exit. But there are major weaknesses as to how come vice chancellors would be able to overcome them in getting the technical staff, in getting the teaching staff. I remember one of my experiences in one of the colleges when they boycotted me, asking as to why there is a necessity of introducing NEP without making any preparation. And all of you know that Karnataka is the first state to implement a national education policy out of 30 states. So you can just imagine as to what are the greater difficulties for the vice chancellors. For the greater difficulties, I think Dr. Aithal also knows as to what are the difficulties that are being involved. Maybe academic bank of credit, or maybe the stakeholders of NEP. I remember my school days, I remember my brother's school days, it was an umbrella. It was an umbrella of all the disciplines. Maybe social sciences, biological sciences, natural sciences, physical sciences, life sciences, environmental sciences, medical sciences, engineering sciences, everything. Everything was in single umbrella. Now NEP wants to bring that single umbrella in the present 2020. In the academic council and also in the syndicate, my friends have moved the idea of introducing medical courses in Kuvempu University. Introducing engineering courses, Mysore University in Karnataka did. Are we really capable? Are we really capable of introducing medical courses when there are no opportunities, when there are no infrastructure facilities? As to how do we be able to look to these type of issues that are very much before us? Or how are we be able to have that concept of umbrella of providing interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary and multidisciplinary approaches? And globalization has given us a new horizon as to what are the issues before globalization. That's what Professor Ramakrishnan was talking about. Do we really need globalization? Or do we really need liberalization in NEP? As to what would be our industry interaction, as to how do we be able to find that this industry interaction only in cosmopolitan and metropolitan cities. So education hub would become only for the cosmopolitan and metropolitan cities. What about the rural universities? What about those universities that are not able to stretch their arms into cosmopolitan and metropolitan culture? As to what are the boundaries that we are able to have? This is my second argument. As to what are the boundaries that universities would be able to look into, either in the context of curriculum or in the context of going for the major courses or the minor courses also. As what yesterday we were able to have, one person wants to study chemistry can also go to agriculture. A person in psychology can study music. A person who wants to study economics can also go to astronomy. But how can this interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary approaches can be possible Or how is it that these subjects can come into a single holistic approach? Dr. Kasturi Rangan talked about this new education policy, national education policy, to have the gross enrollment ratio at least to 50% by 2030. Even in 2030, 50% of our population would remain outside the purview of higher education. Is it that India that we want to build? Or how far we would be able to bring the remaining 50% of population into the gross enrollment ratio is a bigger challenge for all the vice chancellors. Is a bigger challenge for all the higher educational institutions. Can we do it? Shall we do it? But there are greater difficulties that are being involved. As what Dr. Aital was talking about, maybe in the context of education level 15 years. Everybody said we would have started NEP from the base, but we have started NEP from the top. Is it the right approach? I think all educational experts can have a second thought about as to what are the critical issues that are very much there right from the bottom. Going for 15 years level of school level and 4 years, maybe multiple entry and multiple exit of the course also. Okay. I would concentrate only on two issues. One was to what are the indigenous knowledge. Yesterday Nyaya Shastra, our resource person was talking about Nyaya Shastra. What she was talking about Sarala Sutra. As to how this would be able to help for the academic knowledge, or as to how we would be able to restructure the entire curriculum. Please think for a while, can it be possible to bring Nyaya Shastra? Or is it possible for us to bring this jurisprudence? Or is it possible for us to bring the astronomy? How long we have to take, as what our resource person yesterday was talking, will it be an Alauddin lamp, magic lamp, to see that this is possible in just 1 year, or in just 5 years, in just 10 years? Or do we need another 5 years or 10 years to reap the fruits of the national education policy? My last observation as to how and why India should become a super intelligent knowledge power, or how India can be able to produce superhuman beings, or how India would be able to shine in the higher educational system. Can it be possible if we have 100% gross enrollment ratio in higher education? As what I have traveled in many of the Western universities, as what is my experience with Western universities, people are very intelligent. People are very super active, hyperactive. Once the system is being introduced, they will take away the entire fruits of that. Whether Indian society has been able to take away the fruits of that, or the Indian student generation, Indian parent generation would be able to take away the fruits of that. There are basic questions, there are serious questions that are to be answered. And how do we be able to reach that superhuman power, super education power? At least one university out of 100 to 200 universities. Central University of Tamil Nadu should become one university out of 200 universities. Kuvempu University should become one university out of 200 universities. Is a major challenge, not only for the vice chancellors, not only for the registrars, but also for the academic people, the teachers and the student community. The teachers will have more responsibilities than the students. When we were students, the students had more responsibility than the teachers. Now the vice versa. In the national education policy, teachers do have more major responsibility. Teachers will have to shoulder that responsibility. Unless the teachers shoulder the responsibility, we would not be able to reach that target. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Our heartfelt gratitude on enlightening us on overcoming the challenges, on implementing national educational policy, world education arena, and opportunities on inter and multidisciplinary areas. We have with us today the rapporteur of the session, Professor Vajja Sambasivarao, the Vice Chancellor, SRM University. He is an alumnus of BITS Pilani and University of Bielefeld, Germany. Professor V.S. Rao previously served as the President of NIIT University and Acting Vice Chancellor and Director at BITS Pilani. During his career spanning over 42 years, Professor V.S. Rao has contributed heavily into the arena of education. Kind sir, please join us on the stage to summarize and highlight the major points of this session. So please.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Honorable Vice Chancellor of CUTN, Professor Krishnan, distinguished Vice Chancellors, students, research scholars, and excellent organizing team which has made this particular program very successful right from day one. Professor Velu Murugan sir has given me a very important responsibility. It is something like we conduct unannounced quizzes in the class. So suddenly I was taken by surprise when he announced that I am talking about strategizing, faster implementation, smoother implementation of NEP 20. I thought it would be impossible. The way that I was listening to everybody, that I had to make a huge notes. I have never made in my entire life, okay, even in my classrooms, such detailed notes. So today, the session started with Professor Velu Murugan sir giving excellent description about the challenges of new education policy. Dr. Sethuraman sir has introduced each speaker, Professor P.S. Aithal, Professor Ramakrishnan K. Sundararajan, Professor Bharati Harshankar, Professor Prabhashankar Shukla, Professor P.B. Veerabhadrappa. Before I proceed, I would also like to join Dr. G. Ravindranath sir, who mentioned about the great scientist who missed the Nobel laureate very narrowly, or I should not use that word, whether it is taken away. G.N. Ramachandran model. I, being a chemist, I studied the model DNA structure way back in 72. Now I may not remember much, but during those days it was talked about. That was actually, it was Ramachandran sir's model. I would like to also re-emphasize that particular point. Coming to my role as a rapporteur, I do not know to what extent I can do justice. Professor Aithal sir has defined the strategies starting from the bottom in arts, social, and humanities. Of course, there it is contentious. It is, I won't say it is subjective. There were discussions, but to what extent the discussions have taken place to make it a bottoms to top approach. So in engineering medicine, he said it is yet to be introduced, and according to him, it is one of the best model of education to improve the quality of life. It seems he has published 3 papers on this in ABCD. So it is a multitasker, example of changing from physics to technology management and lifelong management. I would like to just digress here. It is possible to some extent. And BITS Pilani has proved way back in 1972. That is how BITS Pilani has catapulted from a very, I won't say low, regional engineering college to one of the institution of eminence, because many of the educational reforms, what we are talking today in the new education policy, were implemented in BITS Pilani way back in 1972 by the then director, Dr. C.R. Mitra, who came from MIT. Students were given choice. Actually, students were admitted to unassigned. At the time of admission, you do not know where you are going to. You can decide in your first 2 years to become a scientist, to become a humanities, or to become an engineer. In the 3rd year, you can decide whether you want to become a mechanical, EEE, computer science. Anyway, sorry for digressing. So he also mentioned that this type of things, that people taking physics, people taking technology management, the way we took being chemistry students, politics or humanities or music or logical thinking, introduction to logic, various types of courses. He said the goal of NEP is high quality, low cost education to everyone, and technology will only help in assuring this high quality, low cost education. Of course, I really liked what he mentioned. It is not 4.0, it is 4.0. It has become a fashion for people to call 1.0 as 1.0 to 4.0. It is a time now we have to go for disruptive innovations. I think there is quite a lot that he has talked about in education. The way disruptive innovations have really created clean disruption, be it telecommunications or be it energy sector. Now the day has come to introduce 4.0 in education sector. So he has also talked about his 12 arguments in new education policy, and he has emphasized about STEAM. Of course, even before NEP came, people have introduced AI in STEM. Many universities, project-based learning. So, and also to go into community to learn more projects. Essentially, new education policy has collected opinions from several universities in introducing arts or in introducing project-based learning, or for example in introducing internship. Again, I digress, BITS Pilani introduced a practice school, that every student must practice his profession by going to a workplace for 6 months, and that was given 25 credits. So now the new education policy talks about this. So there are many more things that he has mentioned. Now, the next speaker, Dr. Ramakrishnan K. Sundararaman. I must really appreciate all the other speakers for presenting their ideas, excellent ideas, in the shortest time that is given to them. He has mentioned the way forward for transforming India into a knowledge superpower. So strategies in health and allied sciences, because the levels, the 6 levels, 7 levels, and 10 levels. So he talked about, I got more clarity in health sciences about the certification and going to work, because at BITS Pilani we worked on physician assistant. So physician assistant is the one who will give support to the Dr. Matai, who is a great heart surgeon. So like that. So there are courses, what you have mentioned, at the entry level, you go with certificate. At the end of the first year, with that certificate, you can go to the market. And at the end of the second year, you can go to the market. At the end of the third year, you can go to the market. At the end of the fourth year, you get B Pharmacy. So very nicely presented. And he mentioned that we have left out health sciences in detailing. So you have also mentioned about medicine is actually the creamy layer, but the entire support system is what you mentioned, so many courses. So qualification type and credit requirement in the health sciences based on NEP, you have talked about. Madam Professor Bharati Harishankar, she talked about harnessing online education for achieving GER 50. It is possible. If you want to achieve GER 50, there is no other way. You cannot create physical infrastructure, first of all, even to go to 30%. It is only online education, but there are arguments against online education, but we have to overcome. Any new thing introduced, there will be shortfalls. We have to overcome those shortfalls. It will not come. Actually, it is a boon for us. When COVID-19 entered into India, because of your preparedness, because of your IT developments, because of many edtech companies, we were able to face that challenge very effectively. So she talked about the spirit of the new education policy instead of the binary answers. She re-emphasized what the chief guest talked about. And we can harness the technology in several ways, the way that I just briefly mentioned. We have to position our teachers and learners. That is one way to overcome the shortfalls. She has very nicely talked about the bidirectional relation between technology and education, use of new disruptive technologies to foster critical thinking and creativity and anytime, anywhere learning. Many such type of things she has touched upon. She has given several examples and analogies. Dr. Prabhashankar Shukla, Vice Chancellor, Nehu Shillong. So he has emphasized on thrust areas, the new architecture for higher education, and mentioned about the reasons for not able to reach the top. He has also mentioned about the 3 types of institutions and which type of research that we must pursue. I really like, sir, the way that you mentioned. These days, before taking up research, nobody thinks the aim is to complete my degree. So, sir mentioned about why am I taking this particular research, in which way it is going to be useful to the society. So researchers should think before taking up the project. So then we will not lose anything, maybe some of the research scholars here. Rather, you will get excellent opportunities for translating your research outcomes into technologies. So rather, it would give you not only publications, but also patents. So he talked about research, restructuring of curricula. Need of the graduate is not known. Okay, we produce graduates without proper planning. So again, I am digressing. When I was in Germany for 4.5 months for educational planning, the way that she mentioned, I was really amazed that the way that they do manpower planning, how many chemists, how many pharmacists, how many how many plumbers, etc. So that is certainly to be, I think I have to cut short because I have already got the signal. Professor Veerabhadrappa sir has given a very critical view. We have to see different perspectives. So he has given a wonderful perspective to the new education policy. He has mentioned, is it possible to have online education in the remote areas? We have implemented. I have received as vice chancellors from many remote areas that they are not able to reach. There is no bandwidth available. So then what we have done, even during pandemic, out of 3,000 rooms, wherever people said that they have, we have invited them. But these are only 1, 2, 3 solutions. But we have to think through how we can really make all these aims and objectives mentioned in the new education policy realizable. Certainly, we need to work together, but solutions are possible, sir. But certainly, you have highlighted many of the challenges. So thank you once again. I must thank once again the organizers for giving me this unexpected opportunity. Thank you one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Let us move on. Let me invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Krishnan, Central University of Tamil Nadu, Professor Vel Murugan PS, the chairperson of this section, and Dr. Sethu Raman, sir, to honor our Madam Professor Sulojana Shekhar, the Registrar, Central University of Tamil Nadu, to join us on the stage to honor the resource persons and the rapporteur.
I wish to have our Honorable then Vice Chancellor Karpo Kumaravel and Professor Sengadir sir on the dais. They are our, whenever we are absent, they are the in charge Vice Chancellor for the last 8 months or 10 months. So please, sir. He's coming. Our Minister order. Yeah. Please, sir. Well,
Let me invite Dr. Ramakrishna from Dr. Somaya Vidyavihar University, Mumbai, to receive a token of love and appreciation. Moving on, let me invite Professor Bharati Harishankar, VC, AIHS and HE, Coimbatore. Next, let me kindly invite Professor Prabha Shankar Shukla, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Nehu, Shillong. So please join us on the stage. We have with us Professor B.P. Veerabhadrappa, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Kuvempu University, Karnataka. Sir, please accept our token of appreciation and love. Thank you to all the resource persons. Moving on, we have the rapporteur of the session, Professor Vajja Sambasivarao, Honorable Vice Chancellor, SRM University, Andhra Pradesh. So please join us on the stage.
This is also unexpected.
Thank you, sirs. Thank you, madam. Strategizing faster and wholesome implementation of National Educational Policy 2020, the way forward for transforming India into a knowledge superpower was the last and final session of Convergence 2022, the two-day national conference of Central University Vice Chancellors on devising action plan for faster and smoother implementation of NEP 2020. Let me take this opportunity to thank the chairperson of the session, Professor Vel Murugan PS, and Dr. Sethu Raman, who have introduced the resource person, all the resource person and rapporteur of the session. We would also like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Krishnan, for this wonderful opportunity, Registrar Madam, conveners of this program, deans, head of the departments, the faculty members, staff members, and students who have strived to make this session a success. Last but not the least, let me extend my gratitude towards all the participants. Thank you, one and all. Now we are moving on to the valedictory session. Please be seated. Thank you.
I request everyone to be seated. So, educationists should build the capacities of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial, and moral leadership among the students and become their role model. During this 2 days national conference, we had deep insights provided by our Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Honorable Minister of State for Education, Ministry of Education, Government of India, Dr. Subhash Sarkarji, National Secretary, Shiksha Sanskriti Udyan Nivas, Shri Atul Kotari ji, Founder Director Corporate Governance Research Center, Dr. Ashirwad Achari, Vice Chancellor of various universities, Director and eminent personalities from various institutions across India on implementation of NEP 2020. It is on occasion like this we get enriched with knowledge and understand how to implement the policy. We look forward to getting an exposure about what the education experts and intellectuals think about this very dynamic topic, implementation of NEP 2020. Now, we request everyone to rise for Tamil Taiwan.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமெதில் தெக்கணமும் மதிர்ச்சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you. Everyone, please be seated. Now, may I please take the pleasure of requesting our respected Dr. Vel Murugan PS, Dean, School of Legal Studies, to welcome the gathering. Sir, please.
Most respected Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tamil Nadu, Professor Krishnan sir. Respected Minister of Education, Government of Pondicherry, Shri Namasivayam sir. His Holiness Velakurichi Adinam, which is located in Tirupugalur, Tiruvarur district. Vela Adinam Ayya Vanakkam. Shri Vinod ji, Member, Ministry of Education. Srimati Dr. Indrani, President, Shiksha Sanskriti Utanyas, Tamil Nadu Unit. Dr. Sulochana Shekhar, Registrar, Central Institute of Tamil Nadu. Professor Nagarajan, Controller of Examination and Convener of this conference, National Education Policy Conference. Very good evening to one and all. With the blessings of the Almighty, we have come to the closing session of the 2 days National Education Policy Conference, which evolved over a period of close to 45 days now. In the 2 days deliberation on how to implement national educational policy in our country, we all have listened to educational administrators from IIT, IIM, IIITs, NITs, and central, state, and private universities across the nation. We had a galaxy of academic administrators for the past 2 days in our campus. The very purpose of this conference, or even the idea to have such a conference in our university, initiated from none other than our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Because during his casual interaction, he said the union government, particularly the Ministry of Education and UGC, they are very particular in faster implementation of various features of national education policy in our country. And many of you may or may not be knowing this, he was a resource person for whenever there is a conference in South India, throughout the country, he was invited as a resource person and a speaker for all these conferences to advocate, to enlighten others on the provisions of national education policy. When our Vice Chancellor is invited by other universities to talk on the importance of implementing national education policy, he said, we have a reasonable role, responsibility to organize a conference at our campus on national educational policy. That is the reason why we have started working on, doing a spade work on organizing this conference on national education policy at our campus, 45 days back for that matter, with the support of all the stakeholders of our university, the deans, head of the departments, students, conveners of various committees, research scholars, and all. That's why I said stakeholders. We have made a very wonderful conference. I have no hesitation in saying that it has made a reasonable impact, very significant impact for the past 2 days across the country. Starting from the ministry, academicians, university vice chancellors, throughout the country, to my knowledge, for the past 2 days, they were discussing about what is happening at Central University of Tamil Nadu. What is the reason for organizing such a conference in Central University of Tamil Nadu? So, which means that, as you all know, Tamil Nadu is a role model in higher education system in the entire country. When our national education policy talks about increasing the gross enrollment ratio, we already crossed 50% gross enrollment ratio, which means Tamil Nadu is a center of higher education system in our country. And Central University of Tamil Nadu, which is located in Tamil Nadu, Thiruvarur, we have a responsibility to take up, to disseminate, to spread the information about the importance of implementing national education policy in our country. That we have did very successfully today, for the past 2 days. For this validatory session, to announce the success of this conference, to announce the various deliberations that has happened in this conference, today we have very eminent guests in our campus. First, we have our Minister of Education, Government of Pondicherry, Shri Namachivasam sir. I'm also from Pondicherry, so I know much about him. Very popularly he is called as, whenever you enter Pondicherry, you could see a banner welcoming him, making it not by his name, but Namavar. Namavar means for other professors from across the country, which in Tamil means our, which means our minister. I would not hesitate to say what is happening in Pondicherry. Many even claim that our future chief minister. This is what we see banners in Pondicherry. And it's not that just like out of anxiety, out of excitement, his followers do so, but a person who has all futures, all like what is required to be a chief minister, maybe the future chief minister of Government of Pondicherry. I welcome you, sir, for being with us today in this validity session. We have with us yet another very important guest. Many of you may be knowing or not knowing, maybe I think may not be knowing that. His Holiness Vellakurichi Ajanam Ayya is there with us today. If not him, we would not have, sitting here, me standing here in this dais, or all these dignitaries sitting there in this dais. The reason is, 200 acres of this campus was contributed by Velakurchi Adina. This is the significance of our Vice Chancellor, but again, not to just to praise him. Not even months back, few days back, our Vice Chancellor used to have whenever he is free, used to visit temples. A pious personality used to visit temples. He visited Tirupugalur, where he met Adinam Ayya, and when the first meeting, after understanding the importance, he said, you have to visit our campus. And that day we decided he is the right person to be either in the inauguration or in the valediction. And because of the convenience, we had invited him today. Thanks for being with us, Ayya, today. Welcome you. In fact, the Adina Ilavaras is also with us today. Welcome. We have amongst us today Shri Vinodji. His full name is Vinod Karuvarakundu, who is part of Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas, convener of South India operations of Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas. Above all, he is a member of the Ministry of Education. A personality who was, for the recent times, taken up the responsibility of spreading the information among academic institutions in implementing national education policy. Individually, he visits colleges, universities, meets its correspondent or a principal or a vice chancellor for that matter, insisting them to implement the provisions of national education policy. That way, he has done a remarkable contribution to national education policy. Welcome you, sir. Welcome you, ji. We have amongst us Srimati Indrani, Dr. Indrani Amma, I always call him Amma, the state president of Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas. There is some reason for she being with us today. When our Vice Chancellor was conceptualizing the idea of having a conference at our university, it is rare coincidence. Amma wrote a letter to our Vice Chancellor. She is being in the capacity of the state president of Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas, which in Tamil it is called as Kalvi Membatu Kendram. Tamil சொன்னா தான் சரியா இருக்கும். அவங்க ஒரு லெட்டர் எழுதினாங்க, and it's a mere coincidence. And with their support, with their association, Vinodji is there. Yesterday we had Ashradha Mataji and Atul Kotarji with us. All are involved in propagating the importance of implementing, I underscore, implementing national education policy in our country as faster and smoother as possible. We also have other dignitaries, our statutory officers, Dr. Professor Sulochana Shekhar, Professor Nagarajan sir, statutory officers from our finance officer, Palni sir, our librarian, Parameshwaran sir. And I also welcome all the vice chancellors and directors who are available today, faculty members, deans, and students of Central University of Tamil Nadu. I welcome you all for this valedictory event of the 2 days National Education Policy Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your warm welcome.
On behalf of Central University of Tamil Nadu, now I request our vibrant Vice Chancellor Sir to honor Thiru A. Namashivayam Sir, Minister of Education, Government of Puducherry, with a shawl and memento as a token of respect from the university.
Now we invite respected Registrar Madam Professor Sulochana Shekhar to honor His Holiness Sri La Sri Satyatnana Mahadeva Desika Paramacharya Swamigal, Velakuruchi Athinam Tirupugalur.
Thank you, Madam. Now we request respected Finance Officer, Central University of Tamil Nadu, CMA V. Palani Sir, to honor Shri Vinod Karuvarakundu Sir, National Monitoring Committee Member, Ministry of Education, Government of India.
Thank you, sir. Now we invite respected librarian, Central University of Tamil Nadu, Dr. R. Parameswaran, to honor Dr. Indrani, convener, Shiksha Sanskriti Uthanyas, Tamil Nadu. Thank you, sir. Now we invite respected Professor S. Nagarajan and Dr. Vail Murugan P.S. Sir, conference conveners, to honor Dr. M. Krishnan, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Tamil Nadu. Thank you, sir.
So here we can see the generosity you have towards the faculty and scholars, students in our university. We are grateful to have you, sir. Thank you, sir. A good education can change anyone. A good teacher can change everything. Each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. We request our respected Registrar Madam, Professor Sulochana Shekhar, to felicitate the gathering. Our Registrar Madam is an able administrator, intellectualist, and an inspiration for many of us. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Very good evening. அனைவருக்கும் இனிய மாலை வணக்கங்கள். The past 2 days, we are listening a lot about NEP and faster and smoother implementation process. Any policy's efficiency depends on successful implementation. So this implementation requires various multiple sources of initiatives, actions done by multiple agencies in a synchronized and systematic manner. Successful implementation actually demands a long-term vision, availability of expertise, as well as concerted action from all concerned. So when you talk about implementation, particularly NEP, we need a very systematic manner because we have to do in a phased manner, particularly in the spirit and intention of this national education policy. When you talk about the policy phased manner, we have various steps, like our esteemed speakers discussed many aspects of it. For example, ABC, me, like that. Me, in the sense multiple entry and multiple exit. So that way, when you are talking about various steps, the steps has to be done a very systematic manner, and we have to plan which has to be done, which step have to be done on a priority basis. And sometimes completion of one step requires the implementation of the previous step successfully. So like that, there are various things we have to consider. That also needs a coordination of human resources, infrastructural and financial resources, and the coordination from state as well as center. So all those things we have discussed very nicely in the past 2 days, and hopefully we achieve the ultimate goal of NEP, that is the good education is the bringing out the best from the student. So I hope the 2 days you all enjoyed, and I thank all the honorable dignitaries on the dais, as well as the galaxy of vice chancellors, directors from different higher education institutions who are coming to our CUTN and honored us. Thank you so much.
When you are around enormously successful people, you realize that their success isn't an accident, it's about hard work. Now we request Dr. Indrani, convener Shiksha Sanskriti Uthanyas, Tamil Nadu, to address the gathering. At present, she is the research director of Sri Sharda College, Tirunelveli. Madam has 35 years of experience in the field of teaching and research in mathematics and is associated from Nirmala College, Coimbatore. We invite you, Madam, to felicitate the gathering.
Thank you, Madam. அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tamil Nadu, Mananiya Atul Kotari ji, National Secretary of Shiksha Sanskriti Uthanyas, Honorable Vice Chancellors, Directors, Registrars from various universities and institutions of the country, participants, members of Karyakartas of Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas, faculty members of Central University of Tamil Nadu, students and scholars. A warm good evening to one and all. Let me take this opportunity to explain in brief about SSUN, that is Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas. In Tamil Nadu, we call it as Kalvi Membattu Kendram, to this August gathering. It's a voluntary organization committed to imparting value on Indian culture-based holistic education. That's why we requested your Vice Chancellor to conduct such a 2 days conclave. Our National Secretary, Mananiya Atul Kotariji, has dedicated his life for this noble cause from 2007 onwards. And Mananiya Vinod ji, he is with us now. Though he is given for southern responsibility of southern states, without him, no, what to say, எல்லா எஸ்எஸ்யூஎனில் நடக்கிற எந்த ஊரில் எந்த இடத்துலனாலும் அவர் இல்லாமல் எதுவுமே நடக்காது. டாக்டர் நம்மளுடைய அத்துல் கோத்தாரிஜிக்கு ரொம்ப நெருக்கமானவர். அவர் இல்லாமல் எஸ்எஸ்யூஎனில் நாங்கள் எதுவுமே செய்ய மாட்டோம். அவருடைய அட்வைஸ்க்கு கீழே தான் நாங்கள் எல்லாமே எதுவுமே செய்வோம். In Tamil Nadu, not only here, SSUN is functioning in Tamil Nadu under the banner of Kalvi Membattu Kendram from the year 2017. We have 13 teams, which includes value education and character building, environment education, teacher education, Vedic mathematics, etc. I am proud to say that Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas is actively involved in the organization of this 2-day conclave by rendering its help in identifying and inviting resource persons and chief guests. I, on behalf of Kalvi Membattu Kendram, Shiksha Sanskrit Utanyas Tamil Nadu, place on record my sincere appreciation to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Registrar, Organizing Secretaries of the event, volunteers, teaching and non-teaching faculty members and students and scholars for organizing the event in a grand manner. I assume that in future also, we will contribute constructively for organizing many more events of this kind. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we have Shri Vinod Karuvarakundu, sir, is a member of National Monitoring Committee for Education under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. Sir is also a mathematics teacher at Karuvarakundu Government Higher Secondary School in Manappuram district, Kerala, and has been constantly involved in the field of education for 2 decades. With his research interests, sir has published more than 100 articles and over 10 monologues. The book about Sangama Grama Madhavan, the founder of the Kerala School of Mathematics, written by Sir, is very noteworthy. Now, we humbly request Sir to felicitate the gathering. We welcome you, Sir.
Vanakkam, ellavarkum vanakkam. I was in a confusion, not what to talk, but how to talk. Malayalam is my language. Malayalam in the Thaimoli. അപ്പോൾ തമിഴ് എനിക്കെന്ത്? എൻ്റെ പാർട്ടി തന്നെ. But there was a generation gap due to the education system. Earlier our Kerala people used to talk Tamil, Kannada, even in the villages. They used to come to Palani, Madura, or this Chittambaram area by walking, staying in some satras, family, some common places. When they come back after 2-3 months, they will speak fluent Tamil. And many people from Tamil Nadu comes to Kerala. So Tamil was in practice in Kerala. I know, I didn't simply tell it was party. My grandmother could speak Tamil very fluently. Okay. But due to this modern education system, we compartmentalized all the languages, all the cultures, all the people. Yesterday, in the inaugural function, our Honorable Governor stated there is a paradigm shift in the outlook of everybody in India. Earlier we were looking everything in compartment, parts, tukada, small things. In Tamil, tunda, chinna. Now we are looking everything in whole, in full moon. Education, our problems, everything. So, in this, I was observing all the sessions, right from inauguration up to this. Sometimes I missed 5 or 10 minutes in between, but I coped everything. Even if I go out for tea, I was listening. Even though this is a conclave of vice chancellors and higher education, those who are in the higher education sector, people presented the things from school level, that is from Ankanwadi to research. The aims at Delhi and the primary health center at the village, there is a direct linkage. But what is happening till now? Higher education institutes, IIM, IITs, IIITs, universities, whether they have any rapport with the Ankanwadis? Till now, we were not considering Ankanwadis as an institute of education. Now the first time the policy, it is including Ankanwadis, that is pre-primary education or early childhood care and as an education part. Okay. Centric, it is Kerala centric, it is my name, you put Karuvarakund, it is my village. Why I put this small, a long name, it is a remote village. I comes from a remote village. That remote village is also part of Bharat. And Indian knowledge system or Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. There was a session. It is not only Vedas or Vedangas or 64 Kalas or Nyaya, these darshanas. What produced in this village for this year, this moment, it is also Bharat knowledge system. We have a very big ocean of knowledge. Knowledge itself is always equated with ocean, with this great, grand mightiness. So, in this education system, 2 points are there. One is Indian knowledge system or Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Second is Bharatiya Bhashas. Bharatiya Bhashas does not mean Hindi. It does not mean Sanskrit. It is Tamil, it is Malayalam, it is Kannada, it is Telugu, it is Assami, it is Kashmiri. All these languages are Indian languages. And the knowledge, Indian knowledge are preserved in these languages. So, to introducing Indian knowledge system, we want to introduce Indian languages into education system. The first education commission was in 48. It was University Commission. What is the main recommendation of University Commission of 48 by Radhakrishnan? Make the higher medium of higher education in Indian languages. How the reconstitution of reunion of Indian states are made in 56 on the basis of language. Why? Only the true spirit of democracy can be implemented through our own languages, our own aspirations, and our own way of thinking. So this we are going to bring back. I want to give 2-3 not suggestions but some opinion how to implement all these things. So there should be 3-level implementation or 3-level strategies. One is at social level, society level, at institutional level, and at personal level. Social level, what are the main 2 attractions or targets of this policy? One is making the enrollment rate at school level 10%, at higher education level 50% in the coming 15 to 20 years. What is the national average? What is the state average? What is the district average, tahsil average, village average, that we have to work out. And the average should be more than 50. This is the lower limit. We were discussing only on existing higher education institution, how to restructure the curriculum, the structure, the governance, all these things. But the maximum capacity, enrollment capacity, that we want to make double and more. So this policy makes 2 big proposals. That is what to increase enrollment, we want to increase education institutions. Nowadays it is become not a fashion, it is a trend that increasing education institution means privatization. Our beloved, respected, 3 main important factors we can see in the dais. One is a representative of the society who wholeheartedly granted the land for an education institution. The other man who is the lawmaker, our representative in the lawmaking body, the Minister of Education, and our respected Vice Chancellor, who is to implement all this, a visionary. So, to make this in a democratic system, the public has to come up with this demand. We want education. We want quality education. So then only the government will act. The policy guide the government in 2 things. One is the responsibility of the government, concerned state government, is to establish a model or public funded college at each district, which have this Meru, which is multidisciplinary education and research university, and with a capacity of 3,000 to 5,000 in every district, not at district headquarters. This is the responsibility of each state governments. And second one, within next 7 to 8 years, the expenditure on education should rise to 6% of the GDP. It was the demand from right from Kothari Commission, that all of you know. So we want to work out from national, state, and all this district panchayat up to Gram Panchayat is there. All these Anganwadis, primary schools come to the local bodies. They have to spend on education. We have to work out, demanding for more expenditure, public funding in education, and establishing more public funded institution is the role of government, and the public pressure has to come. At institution level, you have to think, you have discussed much more on quality education, research and values that we have to start. And personal level, I have a request to all of you, whether you are a professor, principal, or a dean, vice chancellor, director, or a research scholar, start from our side. Be the ambassador of NEP. In two ways you have to start. Whatever may be your area of discipline, teaching, research, or these things, make publication, not only in research journals, but in public journals, in newspapers, in some other magazines. The people, the common people want to know what is going on in universities and colleges. This is one thing. The second one, I want to repeat what Seduraman sir shown in his presentation. Make working-based pedagogies, work-based pedagogy or teaching modules that you have to start in every area of subject. And once again, it is the responsibility of unity to empower the teachers, and teachers ourselves want to make three changes: the relation between teacher and student, teacher and subject, teacher and society. In these areas, we want to make changes, transformation. Transformation happens only when we look inside, introspection, Atma Nirikshana. When Gautama Siddhartha was the prince, he was looking outside and he was seeing something and he was getting fed up. Some Deen Dukhi, some miserable people. Then Raja ordered not to come any old man or suffering beggar in the route where the prince is going. But when he started looking inside, he became Buddha. And all such people were rushing to him. He was the last hope of the poor, miserable, Dina and Dukhi. Dina, the misery of body, and Dukha is the misery of mind. And he was working there. So that was the transformation. We want to transform ourselves by looking inside. I think this conclave of 2 days is demanding everybody to look inside, to transform. With these words, this is not the end of a conclave, this is the starting of a transformation. And the role earlier Indrani Amma told, our role is coordinating. There is a famous saying, Subhashidam, Amantram Aksharam Nasti, Nasti Moolam Anaushadam, Ayogya Purusho Nasti, Yojaga Tatra Durlabha. There may be an equivalent word in Tamil also. There is no letter, Aksharam, which is not mantra, which is meaningless. When it is joined, Ma and Ma is joined, we get Amma.
or Mada or Thai. And Moolam means the root. No root is there which is not having a value of medicinal value. In the same way, there is no Purusha means Purusha Stri, it is not, no individual is there who is having some quality. Everybody is having quality. What is lacking is Yojaga. Yojaga means coordinating. So coordinating, this was a wonderful result of coordination. That is why our Vice Chancellor, when he was honored as the leader of the team, when it was a success event, he shared it. He gave it to others, his team members. That is model. Always we want to follow this model, and always success will be with us. Shiksha Sanskriti Udhanyas and Minister of Education will be with us, with you, and we will go together. Namaste.
Thank you for your warm felicitation. I now request our most respected Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Krishnan Sir, to give the presidential address to the gathering.
அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். Good evening to everybody. Now time is 5:13. Any success of that, any conference, you can measure by that valedictory functions. Now you see that there are about 100 seats are there, 100 seats are filled, and also 10,000 people are seeing online. That is the success of our conference. My dear respected, great personality on dais and off the dais, my teachers, students, and media friends. Really, the media friends, I have to thank you for make this event as a festival, as I told that yesterday. Today, almost all the paper covered by our great excellency speech, where how that NEP should be taken in the right way. So, thank you all the media persons to bring that a wonderful message to the public. But you are not taking only the NEP, you are also taking the CUT and the another well. So, thank you, that media persons. I don't want to take, I will take 10 minutes only. I mean, don't give the paper to me, I am seeing the time. I think why we need higher education, the first thing I want to tell about it, because all my senior teachers are there. When I studied my higher education, I was told that by my father, my dear son, go to the school, study well, get the degree, get the job, get the salary, keep your family happy. He never told that, other things. But now higher education is a different story. How I have to tell to my daughters and my students, please study well, get the post, get the salary, but kindly spend some time for your society. Take your higher education to the society. What our great leader Mahatma Gandhi told that. If you are not going to give something to my society, I don't want to respect the higher education. That is a higher education. So we need some excellent from your higher education, some product from your higher education, which should, give to my society. I am saying that when I was at Madurai Kamaraj University, VC, where I have near about 75 villages around my, university. But when I am seeing that, with a 65 years old university, what's the progress of my village? When I am asking that, nothing. And last part of my, village, student are getting the internet. What's the problem? So the higher education should give everything. That give that product. That is that everywhere we are saying that excellence in higher education and also the product from the higher education. But our great scientist, what you called him, it's died and buried, but he is living always with us. There is a great Abdul Kalam. But he told that, please my teachers, because he is mingle with the students, teachers and students. What he told that, please listen very carefully. Don't see that or don't tell that there is unemployment problem everywhere. Don't say like that. Kindly create that employability. Because, that's only 7.2% of that engineering students are getting their proper job. Not more than that. What happened? The technology. It's not there. So that is the thing we are expecting. Yeah, you can study anything. Right? Wherever I am going, I am telling the 4 sutras. Number 1, if you want to go for your employment, what you have to do that? Number 1, you have to come out from your curricula. Yes, you can get the degree. You can get any degree because we have 65 courses in Central University of Tamil Nadu. You can get the degree. After getting the degree, what you are going to do that? Decide that. Come out from curricula. Because my village people asking that, give proper drinking water. My people are asking that, kindly give some solar light to my village. They are asking that employment you give. What's the answer for my students? No, nothing. So that is that we need come out from the curricula. Second one, nowadays you can't get success by single hand with yourself. No, it's not possible. We all should collaborate. We all should collaborate. All the 65 departments should come from that, come together and do the research. That is the second part. Number 3, sustainability. I have another 2 minutes, please. You have the sustainability. One thing I want to tell that. 50 years you have HIV. 50 years you have HIV. Where is the vaccine? No, nothing. But 2 years it's possible to develop the vaccine for the coronavirus. How it's possible? How it's possible? Because it's affected me. It's affected my relatives. It's affected my village. So we want to work together. Things are coming from America, Germany, France, China, India. We are all come together. Within 2 years, we developed the vaccine. This is because of that, what you call collaboration. Coming out from that, what you call the syllabus, curriculum. Number 3, sustainability. What do you mean sustainability? I think you all know that. The vaccine start from 850 rupees, now free of cost. That is the sustainability. I can find out something, but it should lead to complete of my life. Sustainability. That is that education we need. Number 4, everybody talking that globalization, internalization. That students are having the wrong impression that some foreign students are coming here, or our students are going out. It's called as the internalization. No. When your Indian product is going to be attracted by other country people, that is the globalization. Tell that anything what you are having here, it's coming from India. Your projector, your mic, your smart board, what you are having in your mobile, what's the car you are having, everything product of outside the country. It means that we don't know the scientists in India. We don't know the opportunity in India. What happened? So, my dear students, I am completing. These are all it's going to give by NEP. These are all come together, we are going to propose to NEP. But you can ask the question, because my organizing secretaries rightly put that it's not possible to implement immediately. There is the pros and cons. Yes, even if I want to get it, change from 35-inch TV to 50-inch TV, I have to work for at least 3 years. because I need money. Right? That's the way we have to work together. We have to see that, how I can go very fast. I mean, immediately, if I am saying that to my registrar, change that curriculum of 65 courses in my, Central University of Tamil Nadu within a year, it's not possible. It's not possible. But slowly we have to take it. So this is the thing, today the conference. We are all discuss our Vice Chancellors. Thank you all the Vice Chancellors, Directors, for giving such a wonderful opportunity to us. Because we recorded everything. We are going to publish the book. What are the pros and cons of that implementing that higher education, NEP 20. So that's the thing we are going to do that. Thank you for the organizing secretaries for giving wonderful opportunities. My dear young students, I think they work 24 hours. I think you see that you have to thank all my youngsters. I didn't do anything. I am roaming here and there with their coats and suit, that's all. But they did everything. Holded my hand. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Leadership is based on spiritual quality, the power to inspire others to follow. Today we have His Holiness Sri La Sri Satyajnana Mahadeva Desika Paramacharya Swamigal, Velakurichi Adhinam Tirupugalur, to address the gathering.
அகர முதல எழுத்தெல்லாம் ஆதிபகவன் முதற்றே உலகு. பேரன்பிற்கும் மதிப்பிற்கும் உரிய புதுவை மாநில மாண்புமிகு கல்வி அமைச்சர் திரு நமசிவாயம் அவர்களுக்கும், தேசிய மானிட்டரிங் கமிட்டி உறுப்பினர் வினோத் அவர்களுக்கும், கன்வீனர் டாக்டர் இந்திராணி அவர்களுக்கும், இத்தகு சிறப்பு பொருந்திய தமிழ்நாடு மத்திய பல்கலைக்கழக துணைவேந்தர் அன்பிற்குரிய டாக்டர் கிருஷ்ணன் அவர்களுக்கும், பல்வேறு இடங்களிலிருந்து வந்திருக்கின்ற வைஸ் சான்சலர் அவர்களுக்கும், இங்கே குழுமி இருக்கின்ற பேராசிரியர் பெருந்தகைகளுக்கும், தமிழறிஞர் பெருமக்களுக்கும், ஊடக பத்திரிகை அன்பர்களுக்கும் நமது அருளாசிகள். Learning is the true presumptions riches. All other things are not riches. Said by திருவள்ளுவர். கேடில் வெளிச்செல்வம் கல்வி ஒருவருக்கு மாடல்ல மற்ற எவை. அருமையான ஒரு ஒன்றரை சொற்றொடரிலே கல்வியின் சிறப்பை அற்புதமாக வள்ளுவ பெருந்தகை விளக்கி இருக்கிறார். திருவாரூர் புனிதமான திருத்தலம் மட்டுமல்ல, ஒரு சர்வ கலாசாலையாக விளங்கிய திருத்தலம் திருவாரூர். இங்கே நமது திருக்கைலாய பரம்பரை வேளாக்குறிச்சி ஆதீனத்தை தோற்றுவித்த ஆதீன முதற்குறவர் சத்தியஞானி தரிசனிகளும், தருமை ஆதீனத்தை தோற்றுவித்த குருஞான சம்பந்தருக்கு ஞானாசிரியராக விளங்கிய குருஞான சம்பந்தர் அவர்களும் வாழ்ந்து வழி நடத்திய பெருமைக்குரிய ஊர். அது மட்டுமல்ல, இங்கே தென்தமிழ், வடமொழி, மராத்திய இலக்கியங்களெல்லாம் மக்களுக்கு நன்னறி புகட்டி இந்த தேசம் உய்வதற்கு வழிகாட்டிய ஒரு புனிதமான திரு ஆரூர். இந்த திருத்தலம் இயற்கையாகவே புற்றுமண் வடிவிலே இறைவன் தோன்றியதோடு மட்டுமில்லை, இப்பொழுது இருக்கின்ற விஞ்ஞான காலத்திற்கு முன்பே மக்கள் தொண்டை மகேசன் தொண்டு என்ற அளவில் இங்கே வாழ்ந்த நாயன்மார்கள், அருளாளர்களெல்லாம் திருக்குளம் வெட்டியும் சாலைகள் அமைத்தும் அறப்பணிகள் பல செய்தும் அன்னதானம் வழங்கியும் மாண்புமிகு மக்கள் உயிரை காத்ததோடு மட்டுமல்லாமல் இந்த திருவாரூர் திருக்கோயிலே கல்வி புகட்டும் சாலையாகவும் விளங்கி இருக்கிறது என்பது நாம் நினைவில் கொள்ளத்தக்க ஒரு சிறப்புமிகு செய்தியாகும். அதனால்தானோ என்னவோ டாக்டர் கலைஞர் அவர்கள் தாம் முதல்வராக இருந்த காலத்து இந்த ஊரிலே மத்திய பல்கலைக்கழகம் அமைய வேண்டும் என்று முன்முயற்சி எடுத்து அதற்கு நாமும் ஒரு பங்கெடுத்துக்கின்ற நல் வாய்ப்பினையும் நமக்கு அவர் வழங்கி இந்த பெரிய ஒரு கல்வி நிறுவனம் இங்கே அமைந்து பல்துறை அறிஞர்களுக்கும் பல்வேறு பாரத தேசத்தில் உள்ள பல்வேறு மாநிலத்தவருக்கும் பயன் தரத்தக்க வகையிலே ஒரு ஆலமரமாக இங்கே எழுந்திருக்கிறது என்றால் உண்மையிலேயே பாராட்டுக்குரிய ஒன்றாகும். அதிலும் நமது அன்பிற்குரிய வைஸ் சான்சலர் அவர்கள் நல்ல முறையிலே மிகுந்த ஊக்கத்தோடு தம்முடன் பணியாற்றுகின்ற பேராசிரியர் பெருந்தகைகளையும் இணைத்து கொண்டு தேசிய கல்வி கொள்கை திட்டம் 2020 செயல்படுத்த வேண்டிய குறித்து விரிவான ஒரு கருத்தரங்கினை சிந்தனை அரங்கு என்றே சொல்ல வேண்டும் அற்புதமாக இங்கே நிகழ்த்தி காட்டியிருக்கிறார். ஏனெனில் நாம் வேற்றுமையில் ஒற்றுமை கொண்ட நாடு பாரத திருநாடு. பல்வேறு இன மொழி மதத்தை சார்ந்தவர்கள் வாழ்கின்ற சிறப்பான ஒரு தேசியமும் தெய்வீகமும் இரு கண்களாக கொண்ட ஒரு நாடு நமது பாரத தேசம். கல்வியிலும் சரி, தொழில்துறையிலும் சரி, வேளாண்மையிலும் சரி, எல்லா வகையிலும் நாம் மற்றோருக்கு சளைத்தவர்கள்ல என்பதை நிரூபித்து காட்டிக் கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். அதிலும் குறிப்பாக இந்த கொரோனா பெருந்தொற்று காலத்தில் நமது நாட்டிலே ஏற்படுத்திய அந்த ஊசி தடுப்பு மருந்து, கொரோனா தடுப்பு மருந்தானது உலக நாடுகள் பலவற்றிற்கு சென்று அந்த மக்களையும் காத்த பெருமை இந்த மண்ணுக்கு உண்டு. கல்வி அறிவு ஒழுக்கங்களால் சிறந்தவர்கள்தான் இறை வழிபாட்டிலும் சிறக்க முடியும் என்பதை எங்களது திருக்கோயில்கள் அழைப்பிதழ்களிலே நீங்கள் காணலாம். ஒரு திருவிழாவிற்கோ திருமடத்து குருபூசை விழாவிற்கோ அழைப்பிதழ் திருமுகம் எனப்படுவது. அதை செல்லும் போது, அதனை எழுதும் போதும் அதை அனுப்பும் போதும் கல்வி அறிவு ஒழுக்கங்களால் சிறந்த தாங்கள் தங்கள் குடும்பத்தினருடனும் நண்பர்களுடனும் இந்த விழாவிற்கு வந்திருந்து இறையொருளும் குருவருளும் பெற்று சிறக்குமாறு விரும்புகிறோம் என்று அதில் தட்டச்சு செய்திருக்கும். எதற்காக இதை சுட்டி காட்டுகின்றோம் என்றால், அடிப்படை ஒரு மனிதனுக்கு தேவை கல்வி. அந்த கல்வியில் அவன் சிறந்தால் மட்டுமே பிறர் நலம் பேணி அர்ப்பணிப்பு உணர்வோடு பொதுநலம் ஆற்றுபவனாக விளங்க முடியும். இன்றைக்கு நமது நாடு சுதந்திரம் பெற்ற பிறகு இவ்வளவு பெரிய வளர்ச்சியை அடைந்திருக்கிறது என்றால் அந்த அர்ப்பணிப்பு உணர்வும் பிறர் நலம் பேணுதலும் தான் அடிப்படையாக இருந்திருக்கிறது எனலாம். ஏனெனில் நமது திருநாடு மட்டும்தான் இயற்கையான ஒரு இறை உணர்வோடு கூடிய சகிப்புணர்வையும் மற்றவர்களுக்கு உதவுகின்ற மனப்பாங்கையும் கொண்ட மக்கள் நிறைந்த நாடாக விளங்குகிறது. இத்தகைய சிறப்பு பொருந்திய இந்த திருநாட்டில் புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையின் வழி பன்மொழிகளை பயில்கின்ற ஒரு பெரு வாய்ப்பினை நமது பாரத அரசு ஏற்படுத்தி தந்திருக்கிறது எனலாம். அது மட்டுமல்ல, தொழில் கல்வியையும் நாம் இதிலே இணைந்தே தெரிந்து கொள்ளலாம். தனியே தொழில் கல்வி கற்க தேவையில்லை. மேலும் நாம் விரும்புகின்ற மொழியை, நமது தாய்மொழியை முதன்மையாக கொண்டு பயில்வதற்கும் நல்வாய்ப்பினை இந்த கல்விக் கொள்கையிலே இடமளிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது என்றால் உண்மையிலேயே இது வரவேற்புக்குரிய ஒரு நல்ல திட்டம். இதனை அரசும் ஏற்றுக்கொண்டு அமுல்படுத்தும் என்று நம்புவோமாக. இத்தகைய நல்ல விழாவிலே நாம் ஆதிநகர்த்தர் என்ற நிலையில் சமய தலைவராக இங்கே வந்து சில கருத்துக்களை சொல்வதற்கு வாய்ப்பளித்த அத்துணை பேருக்கும் நமது பாராட்டுதல்களையும் போற்றுதல்களையும் தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு, எல்லோரும் எல்லா நலன்களும் பெற்று நீடினது வாழ நமது வழிபடு கடவுளாகிய அஜபா நடன தியாகேச பெருமாள் திருவடி மலர்களை சிந்தித்து ஆசீர்வதிக்கின்றோம். திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.
We are delighted, Swamigal, for your addressing the gathering.
இது போன்ற விழாக்களில் பெரியவங்க வரும்போது we have our duties also. So Central University of Tamil Nadu, it's planned to start, உங்கள் ரெண்டு பேத்துக்கு தான் மினிஸ்டர்ஸுக்கும் plan to start the marine centers at near Nagapattinam or near Karaikal, because one way we have to study about the marine system, other way we have to see some solution in collaboration with NRDM, that National Institute of Disaster Management. For that we are looking for the land. Even our earlier Chief Minister put it. So we are looking for the land and your support to establish center. I mean, as you wish, near Nagapattinam or Kodiyakkarai or near Karaikal. This is my humble request from the both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Born to the Tamil family from Puducherry, a French colony, with his efficiency, our Honorable Minister has craved himself out to establish as a Minister of Electricity, Industry and Commerce, Education, including collegiate education, sports and youth affairs, scenic welfare. We are privileged and obliged to have Thiru A. Namashivayam, sir. We are extremely glad and privileged to welcome you, sir. Sir, your presence is indeed a source of motivation. We look forward to your valedictory address.
We just introduced Puducherry as the colony of French, but the NEP actually emerged from Puducherry, the basic concept of Aurobindo. It is the, before formalizing this thing, many of us traveled to Puducherry and we studied the model that Aurobindo Education Society and the village. It is one of the basic concept inside this, and I was discussing with the minister that Puducherry as the
Home Minister of Puducherry.
புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கை 2020 இது சம்பந்தமான ஒரு 2 நாள் மாநாட்டு நிகழ்விலே இன்றைக்கு நிறைவு நாள் நிகழ்ச்சியாக இந்த நிகழ்விலே எனக்கு முன்னர் வாழ்த்துரை வழங்கி அமர்ந்திருக்கின்ற இந்த மத்திய பல்கலைக்கழகத்தினுடைய துணைவேந்தர் மரியாதைக்குரிய சகோதரர் திரு கிருஷ்ணன் அவர்களே, இங்கே வாழ்த்துரை வழங்கி அருளாசியும் வழங்கியிருக்கின்ற எங்களுடைய வணக்கத்திற்குரிய மரியாதைக்குரிய சாமிஜி அவர்களே, மரியாதைக்குரிய நேஷனல் மானிட்டரிங் கமிட்டி மெம்பர் மரியாதைக்குரிய சகோதரர் வினோத்ஜி அவர்களே, மரியாதைக்குரிய கன்வீனர் SSN தமிழ்நாடு டாக்டர் இந்திராணி அம்மா அவர்களே, மரியாதைக்குரிய இந்த தேசிய பல்கலைக்கழகத்தினுடைய பதிவாளர் சுலோசனா சேகர் அவர்களே, மரியாதைக்குரிய இந்த பல்கலைக்கழகத்தினுடைய பேராசிரியர், உடைய அன்பிற்கும் பாசத்திற்கும் உரிய பேராசிரியர் வேல்முருகன் அவர்களே, மரியாதைக்குரிய நன்றி உரை ஆற்ற இருக்கின்ற மதிப்பிற்குரிய பேராசிரியர் நாகராஜன் அவர்களே, இந்த 2 நாள் மாநாட்டிலே கலந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்ற இந்தியாவின் பல்வேறு பகுதியிலிருந்து வருகை தந்திருக்கின்ற மதிப்பிற்குரிய துணைவேந்தர்களே, பேராசிரியர்களே, மாணவர்களே, மாணவிகளே, சகோதரர்களே, சகோதரிகளே, உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய முதற்கண் வணக்கத்தை இந்த நேரத்திலே நான் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்ள கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கின்றேன். இந்த நிகழ்விலே நான் உங்களோடு கலந்து கொள்வதிலே பெருமகிழ்வடைகின்றேன். ஏன்னு சொன்னால், தமிழகத்தை ஒட்டிய தமிழகத்தினுடைய கலாச்சாரம், பண்பாடு ஒருங்கே பெற்ற புதுவை மண்ணிலிருந்து ஒரு கல்வித்துறை அமைச்சராக, குறிப்பாக தேசிய கல்விக் கொள்கை சம்பந்தமான இந்த மாநாட்டிலே கலந்து கொள்வதிலே நான் பெரும் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகின்றேன். ஏனென்று சொன்னால், இன்றைக்கு நம்முடைய உலக சூழ்நிலைக்கு ஏற்ப, நம்முடைய நாட்டினுடைய சூழ்நிலைக்கு ஏற்ப மாற்றம் என்பது தேவையான ஒன்றாக இன்றைக்கு இருந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. எப்பொழுதும் சொல்லும்போது சொல்வார்கள், மாற்றம் ஒன்றே மாறாதது. ஏன் சொல்லணும்னு சொன்னால், இன்றைக்கு நம்முடைய தலைமுறைகள் மாறி இருக்கின்றது. அன்னைக்கு இருந்த நம்முடைய கல்வி நிலை, அன்றைக்கு இருந்த நம்முடைய பெற்றோர்கள், பிள்ளைகள், படிப்பு முறை இன்றைக்கு நாளுக்கு நாள் இன்றைக்கு மாறிக்கொண்டே இருக்கின்றது. நாம் இன்றைக்கு பின்பற்றக்கூடிய அந்த கல்வி முறையானது 1986ஆம் ஆண்டு உருவாக்கப்பட்ட அந்த கல்வி முறை. கிட்டத்தட்ட 34 ஆண்டுகள் இந்த ஒரே கல்வி முறையைத்தான் நாம் பின்பற்றி இன்றைக்கு கல்வியை நாம் பயின்று கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். அது உயர்கல்வியாக இருந்தாலும், அது ஆரம்ப கல்வியாக இருந்தாலும், அது ஆராய்ச்சி கல்வியாக இருந்தாலும் அது பட்டப்படிப்பாக இருந்தாலும், அப்படி எந்த கல்வியாக இருந்தாலும் இன்றைக்கு 1986 உருவாக்கப்பட்ட அந்த கல்வி முறையின் அடிப்படையிலே தான் இந்த கல்வியை நாம் பயின்று கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். 34 ஆண்டுகள் அந்த ஒரே கல்வி முறையிலே இன்றைக்கு அந்த கல்வியை நாம் பயின்று கொண்டிருக்கின்றோம். அதனால்தான் இன்றைக்கு மரியாதைக்குரிய பாரத பிரதமர் திரு நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் இந்த கல்வி முறையிலே மாற்றங்களை கொண்டு வர வேண்டும். அப்படி மாற்றங்களை கொண்டு வருகின்ற பொழுது அந்த கல்வி முறையானது இந்த சமுதாயத்தினுடைய மேம்பாட்டிற்காக ஆனதாக அந்த கல்வி முறை இருக்க வேண்டும். இப்போது ஒரு அரசாங்கம் ஒரு திட்டமிடுகின்ற பொழுது எடுத்தோடனே ஒரு மாற்றத்தை கொண்டு வரணும் அப்படின்னு ஒரு முடிவு பண்ணிட்டோன்னு சொன்னா, சரி மாற்றத்தை கொண்டு வரணும், அது எப்படி கொண்டு வர போறோம்? சரி, கொண்டு வந்த பிறகு அதிலே எந்தெந்த அம்சங்களை உள்ளடக்கியதாக அந்த மாற்றம் இருக்க வேண்டும். அப்படி அந்த உள்ளடக்கிய அம்சங்களை நாம் எப்படி செயல்படுத்த போகின்றோம்? அப்படி செயல்படுத்துகின்ற பொழுது எத்தகைய நடைமுறை சிக்கல்கள் அந்த செயல்முறையிலே நமக்கு இருக்கும்? அந்த சிக்கல்களை நாம் எவ்வாறு எதிர்கொள்ளப் போகிறோம்? அப்படி அந்த முறையை நாம் அமுல்படுத்திய பிறகு எத்தகைய தாக்கத்தை இந்த சமுதாயத்தில் அது உருவாக்கும்? இதுதான் ஒரு திட்டங்களை ஒரு அரசாங்கம் தீட்டுகின்ற பொழுது இந்த அரசாங்கத்திற்கு இருக்கின்ற பிரச்சனைகள். இதற்கு ஒவ்வொன்றுக்கும் நாம் விடை காண்டாக வேண்டும். இன்னைக்கு தேசிய கல்விக் கொள்கை, நியூ எஜுகேஷன் பாலிசி, புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கை. புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கை கிட்டத்தட்ட மரியாதைக்குரிய டாக்டர் கஸ்தூரி ரங்கன் அவருடைய தலைமையிலே 2019ஆம் ஆண்டு அதற்காக ஒரு குழு அமைக்கப்பட்டு அதனுடைய சிறப்பு அம்சங்களை எல்லாம் ஆராயப்பட்டு அது அரசிற்கு அறிக்கையாக தாக்கல் செய்யப்பட்டது, மத்திய அரசிற்கு. அதன் பிறகு அதை அமைச்சரவை அதில் இருக்கின்ற சிறப்பு அம்சங்கள் என்னென்ன, எவற்றையெல்லாம் எடுத்துக்கொள்ள முடியும், எவற்றையெல்லாம் நாம் அமுல்படுத்தினால் நம்முடைய சமுதாயத்தை மேம்படுத்துவதற்கு அது உதவிகரமாக இருக்கும், எப்படி பல அம்சங்களை ஆராய்ந்து அமைச்சரவையின் ஒப்புதலுக்கு பிறகு 2020ஆம் ஆண்டு இந்த தேசிய கல்விக் கொள்கையானது அறிமுகப்படுத்தப்பட்டது. அப்படி அமல்படுத்துகின்ற பொழுது இன்னைக்கு நான் ஒரு சில கேள்வியை உங்கள் மத்தியிலே நான் வைக்க விரும்புகின்றேன். என்ன அப்படின்னு நம்ம சொன்னோம்னா, நம்ம ஏன் படிக்கணும்? நம்ம ஏன் படிக்கணும்? ஏன் படிக்கணும்னா 2 விஷயத்துக்காக நம்ம படிச்சாகணும். ஒன்று, நாம் நம்முடைய அறிவை விசாலப்படுத்திக் கொள்வதற்கு. ஒன்றொன்று, நாம் நம்முடைய பொருளாதாரத்தை மேம்படுத்திக் கொள்வதற்கு. 2 விஷயத்துக்காக தான் நாம் படிக்கிறோம். ஒன்று, நம்ம பொருளாதாரம் மீட்டுவதற்கு, நாம் வசதியாக வாழ்வதற்கு. அப்படி வசதியாக வாழ வேண்டும் என்றால் நம்ம வேலைக்கு போகணும். இந்த சமுதாயத்தில் ஒரு நாகரிகம் உள்ளவர்களாக, இந்த சமுதாயம் மதிக்கத்தக்கவர்களாக நாம் வாழ வேண்டும் என்று சொன்னால் நாம் அறிவுள்ளவர்களாக நாம் இருக்க வேண்டும். அப்படி இருந்தால் தான் சமுதாயம் நம்மை மதிக்கும். அப்படி இருக்கின்ற பொழுது இந்த 2 நிலைகளை உருவாக்குவதற்கான அந்த கல்வி முறைதான் இன்றைக்கு புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையில இன்றைக்கு உருவாக்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றது. வேற ஒண்ணுமே இல்லை. இந்த கல்விக் கொள்கை செய்முறை பாடத்தோடு இந்த கல்விக் கொள்கை உருவாக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. கிராமத்தில் ஒரு பழமொழி சொல்லுவாங்க, குறிப்பா, ஏட்டு சொரக்கா கறிக்கு உதவாது. இன்னைக்கு படத்தில் போட்டுட்டு சொரக்காயை போட்டுட்டு அதை நம்மளால சமைக்க முடியுமா? முடியாது. அது சொரக்காயை கொடியில் விளை வச்சு அதை எடுத்துட்டு வந்து அரிஞ்சாதான் நம்ம சமையலுக்கு பயன்படுத்த முடியும், அதை சாப்பிட முடியும். ஆனால் நம்ம புத்தகத்தில் மட்டும் படிச்சுட்டா மட்டும் நம்மளால ஒரு செயலை செஞ்சிட முடியுமான்னு சொன்னா முடியாது. ஒரு பாடத்தை நம்ம மனப்பாடம் பண்ணி நம்ம எழுதி எக்ஸாமில் நம்ம மார்க் வாங்கிடலாம், எல்லாம் பண்ணிடலாம். ஆனால் அந்த சமுதாயத்தில் ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு நிலையிலே அவர்களால் இந்த சமுதாயத்தை எதிர்கொள்ள முடியுமா அப்படின்னா நிச்சயமாக முடியாது. ஏன்னு சொன்னால் அதற்கு அனுபவ பாடம் என்பது நமக்கு தேவையான ஒன்றாக இன்றைக்கு இருக்கின்றது. ஏன்னு சொன்னால் நம்முடைய முன்னோர்களுடைய வாழ்க்கை முறை என்பது வேறு, இன்றைக்கு நாம் இருக்கின்ற வாழ்க்கை முறை என்பது வேறு. அதை நம்ம தெளிவாக புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். ஏன்னு சொன்னால் இன்னைக்கு நம்ம ஒரு பரபரப்பான உலகத்தில் வாழ்ந்துகிட்டு இருக்கிறோம். ஒரு போட்டியான உலகம், காம்படிட் பண்ணணும், எல்லாரோட நம்ம காம்படிட் பண்ணி நம்ம எப்படி அவனை விட நம்ம மேலே வர்றது, அவனை விட நம்ம எப்படி மேலே வர்றது, நம்ம எப்படி அதை பண்ணுறது, இதை பண்ணுறது, எப்படி பண்ணுறது, பொருளாதார ரீதியாக நம்ம எப்படி மேலே வர்றது, படிப்பு ரீதியாக நம்ம எப்படி மேலே வர்றது. இந்த காம்படிட்டான உலகத்தில் நம்ம வாழ்கின்ற பொழுது பல சவால்களை எதிர்கொள்ள வேண்டிய ஒரு பொறுப்பு, ஒரு நிலைமை நாம் ஒவ்வொருவருக்கும் உண்டு. அது படிப்பில் மட்டும் இல்லை, எல்லாத்துலேயும் இருக்குது, எல்லா துறைகளிலும் இருக்குது. அது விவசாயமாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, அது தொழிலாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, அது படிப்பாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, அது அரசியலாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, எல்லா துறைகளிலும் இந்த போட்டி என்பது இன்றைக்கு இருந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. இந்த போட்டி நிறைந்த உலகத்தில் நாம் வாழ வேண்டும் என்று சொன்னால் அதற்கு தக்கவாறு நம்மை நாம் மாற்றிக்கொள்ள வேண்டும். அதுக்கு ஏற்றவாறு நாம் வாழ கற்றுக்கலன்னா நாம் இந்த சமுதாயத்தில், இந்த உலகத்தில் நம்மால் முன்னேற முடியாது. இன்னைக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இன்னைக்கு உலகம் ஃபுல்லா நாடுகள் எல்லாம் இன்றைக்கு மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு வல்லரசாக இருக்கின்ற நம்ம அமெரிக்காவை கூட நாம் எடுத்துக்கணும்னு சொன்னாக்கா இன்றைக்கு எந்த அளவுக்கு அவர்கள் வளர்ந்திருக்கின்றார்கள். அந்நிய நம்முடைய பிற நாடுகளை நாம் பார்க்கின்ற பொழுது அவருடைய வளர்ச்சி, அவருடைய தொழில்நுட்பம், அவருடைய ஆகட்டும், தொழில்நுட்பத்தில் ஆகட்டும், அவருடைய கட்டமைப்பில் ஆகட்டும், எல்லா வகையிலும் இன்றைக்கு உயர்ந்தவர்களாக இருக்கின்றார்கள். ஏன்? அந்தந்த சூழ்நிலைக்கேற்ப அவர்கள் மாற்றங்களை அவர்கள் கொண்டு வருவதனால் அத்தகைய நிலைமையை அவர்களால் சாதிக்க முடிகின்றது. அதைத்தான் நம்முடைய பாரத பிரதமர் உணர்ந்து இன்றைக்கு புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கை இன்றைக்கு நமக்கு தேவை என்பதை இன்றைக்கு உருவாக்கி இருக்கின்றார். நீ கல்விக் கொள்கையில மட்டுமில்லை, இன்றைக்கு எல்லா கொள்கையிலும் மாற்றம் தேவை, எல்லா நிலைகளிலும் மாற்றம் தேவை. இந்தியா வளர வேண்டும் என்று சொன்னால், நம்முடைய இந்திய நாடு வல்லரசாக வேண்டும் என்று சொன்னால் நாம் அனைத்து நிலைகளிலும் நம்முடைய மாற்றங்களை கொண்டு வந்தாக வேண்டும். 1986 நம்ம இருந்த மாதிரி அப்ப நம்ம இருக்கோம்? நம்ம சமுதாயம் இருக்குதா? நம்ம இருந்த மாதிரி நம்முடைய பிள்ளைகள் இருக்க முடியுதா? இருக்க முடியல. நம்முடைய இந்திய நாட்டை போன்ற ஒரு நாடு எந்த இடத்துலையும் நம்மளால பார்க்க முடியாது. நாம் பல மதத்தை சார்ந்தவர்கள் இருக்கின்றோம், பல மாநிலங்களாக நாம் பிரிந்திருக்கின்றோம். ஆனால் நாம் அனைவரும் இந்தியர் என்பதில் ஒற்றுமையாக இருக்கின்றோம். எந்த நாட்டில் சாத்தியம்? எந்த நாட்டிலும் சாத்தியம் கிடையாது. அதைத்தான் இந்த புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையிலே உருவாக்க வேண்டும் என்பதை பிரதமர் அவர்கள் 2-3 தினங்களுக்கு முன்பு சென்னை வந்தபோது கூட அதில் அழுத்தம் திருத்தமாக சொல்லிவிட்டு போயிருக்கிறார். அவர் தாய்மொழியிலே நீங்கள் உங்களுடைய கல்வியை நீங்கள் பயிலலாம். குறிப்பா சொல்லிட்டு போயிருக்கார். அதுவும் பொறியியலாக இருந்தாலும் சரி, மருத்துவமாக இருந்தாலும் சரி. நாம் மருத்துவத்தை எதுல பயின்று இருக்கோம்? இன்னைக்கு ஆங்கில கல்வியில் தான் நாம் இன்றைக்கு மருத்துவத்தை நாம் பயின்று கொண்டு இருக்கின்றோம். பொறியியலை நாம் எந்த கல்வியில் பண்றோம்? இன்ஜினியரிங் எதுல பண்ணியிருக்கோம்? இன்னைக்கு ஆங்கிலத்தில் தான் அந்த இன்ஜினியரிங் நம்ம கத்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறோம். நீ உன்னுடைய தாய்மொழியிலே இதை கற்றுக்கொள்வதற்கு இந்த புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையிலே வழிவகைகள் இன்றைக்கு அதிலே வைக்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றன. ஏன் சொன்னா, இப்ப என்னால பாக்குற உதாரணத்துக்கு சொல்லணும்னு சொன்னா, என்னால ஆங்கிலத்தில் நீங்க புளிவெண்டா என்னால பேச முடியும்னு நிச்சயமா முடியாது. இந்தியில என்னால புளிவெண்டா பேச முடியும்னா நிச்சயமா முடியாது. ஆனால் என்னுடைய தாய்மொழியில் என்னுடைய உணர்வை நான் வெளிப்படுத்த முடியும் என்று சொன்னால், அந்த என்னுடைய தாய்மொழியிலே வெளிப்படுத்துவது போன்று வேறு மொழியில என்னால் வெளிப்படுத்த முடியாது. என்னுடைய உணர்வை வெளிப்படுத்த முடியாது. அதுக்குதான் அந்த தாய்மொழியிலே உன்னுடைய கல்வியை நீ கற்றுக்கொள். உன்னுடைய அறிவை வளர்த்துக் கொள்வதற்கு கல்வி, ஏட்டுக்கல்வி. உன்னுடைய பொருளாதாரத்தை பெருக்கிக் கொள்வதற்கு உன்னுடைய தொழில் கல்வி. அதுதான் இந்த புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையில இன்றைக்கு உருவாக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. பல பேர் அந்த கொள்கையில என்ன இருக்குன்னு தெரியாமலே எதிர்ப்பவர்கள் உண்டு. எந்த ஒரு திட்டம் கொண்டு வந்தாலும் சரி, அதற்கு எதிர்ப்பதற்குன்னு ஒரு சில குரூப் இருக்க தான் செய்யும். அதை பத்தி நம்ம கவலைப்படக்கூடாது. நிச்சயமா இருக்கும். எந்த ஒரு அரசாங்கம் எந்த ஒரு திட்டம் கொண்டு வந்தாலும் சரி, அது ஒரு சாராருக்கு சாதகமாக இருக்கும், அது ஒரு சாராருக்கு பாதகமாகத்தான் இருக்கும். அப்போ பாதகமாக இருப்பவர்கள் அதை எதிர்ப்பார்கள். ஆனால் இந்த திட்டத்தினால் எப்படி அதிக பேர் பயன்பெறுவார்கள், அதைத்தான் நம்ம பார்க்கணும். இதில் அதிக பேர் எப்படி இதில் பயன்பெற போகிறார்கள் என்பதைத்தான் ஒரு அரசாங்கம் கவனிக்க வேண்டும். அதைத்தான் இன்றைக்கு பாரத பிரதமர் அவர்கள் செய்திருக்கிறார். இன்னைக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு காலத்துல இன்னைக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் இந்தியான்னு ஒரு திட்டத்தை கொண்டு வந்தார், மேக் இன் இந்தியான்னு ஒரு திட்டத்தை கொண்டு வந்தார். இன்னைக்கு அந்த திட்டத்தின் மூலம் இன்னைக்கு என்ன பயன் நமக்கு வந்திருக்குது நீங்க சிந்திச்சு பாருங்க. மரியாதைக்குரிய நம்முடைய துணைவேந்தர் கூட சொல்லும்போது சொன்னார், இன்னைக்கு வந்து நமக்கு வேக்சினேஷன் போட்டிருக்கோம், HIV இது வரைக்கும் நம்மளால கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியல. இன்னைக்கு கொரோனாவுக்கு 2 வருஷத்துக்குள்ளே கண்டுபிடிச்சிருக்கோம், ஏன் 1 வருஷத்துக்குள்ளே நம்மளால கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியுது அப்படின்னு சொன்னா, இன்றைக்கு இந்த மேக் இன் இந்தியா திட்டத்தில் இந்திய நாட்டிலே உருவாக்கப்பட்ட அந்த வேக்சின் இன்னைக்கு நமக்கு அனைவருக்கும் பயன்பட்டதா இல்லையா? எத்தனை நேரத்தில் நம்ம வெளிநாடுகளில் கையேந்திருக்கின்றோம். இந்த மருந்துக்காக வெளிநாட்டில் இருந்து அவன் கண்டுபிடிச்சு நமக்கு கொடுப்பானா? அமெரிக்காக்காரன் கொடுப்பானா? ரஷ்யாக்காரன் கொடுப்பானா? பிரான்ஸ்காரன் கொடுப்பானா? இத்தாலிக்காரன் கொடுப்பானா? எத்தனை நேரத்தில் அவனை பார்த்து நம்ம கையேந்திரம் எப்படா நீ கண்டுபிடிச்சு கொடுப்ப? அவன் கண்டுபிடிச்சு அவன் நாட்டில் இருக்கிற எல்லாம் போட்டு அவன் எல்லாம் சேஃபான பிறகு கடைசியா தான் இன்னைக்கு நம்ம கிட்ட வரும். நம்ம கடைமடை பகுதி என்றது போல நமக்கு கடைசியா எல்லா இடத்துலையும் போயிட்டு வரும். ஆனா இன்றைக்கு இந்திய நாடு அந்த வேக்சினை முதல்ல கண்டுபிடிச்சு நம்முடைய மக்களுக்கு கொடுத்து அதை அடுத்தவனுக்கும் உதவ வேண்டும் என்ற உயர்ந்த எண்ணத்தோடு இன்னைக்கு உருவாக்கி கொடுத்திருக்கிறார நம்முடைய பாரத பிரதமரை நாம் பாராட்டியாக வேண்டும், தலைவணங்க வேண்டும். எத்தனை பேருக்கு அத்தனை சிந்தனை தோன்றி இருக்கின்றது. அது எவ்வளவு கணக்கான கோடிக்கணக்கான ரூபாயை நம்முடைய இந்திய கம்பெனிக்கு அட்வான்ஸா கொடுத்து, கிட்டத்தட்ட 2000 கோடி ரூபாய்க்கு மேல அவனுக்கு முன்னாடி அட்வான்ஸா கொடுத்து நீ ஆராய்ச்சி செய்து நீ நம்முடைய நாட்டிலே அந்த பொருளை உருவாக்க வேண்டும். அதுதானே இந்த புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கை சொல்றாங்க. உன்னுடைய ஆராய்ச்சி நம்முடைய நாட்டில் தொடங்குங்க. நம்முடைய நாட்டில் எதற்கு பஞ்சம்? எதுக்கும் பஞ்சம் கிடையாது. இயற்கை வளங்களுக்கு பஞ்சமா? அறிவுக்கு பஞ்சமா? எதுக்கும் பஞ்சம் கிடையாது. எல்லாமே நிறைந்த நாடு ஒரு நாடு கொடுத்ததுன்னா அது இந்திய நாடு தான். ஆன்மீகத்துக்கு பஞ்சமா? எதுக்குமே பஞ்சம் கிடையாது. நம்முடைய சமுதாய கட்டமைப்பு பஞ்சமா? கிடையாது. நம்முடைய இந்திய நாட்டில் இருக்கின்ற ஒரு சமுதாய கட்டமைப்பு, குடும்ப கட்டமைப்பு போல வேற எந்த ஒரு நாட்டிலும் இல்லை. நம்மளால அடிச்சு சொல்ல முடியும். ஒருவனுக்கு ஒருத்தி என்ற பண்பாடு இந்திய நாட்டை தவிர வேற எந்த நாட்டில் இருக்கு சொல்ல முடியுமா? இல்ல. கூட்டு குடும்பமா நம்முடைய தாத்தா பாட்டிலாம் கூட்டு குடும்பம் வாழ்ந்தாலும் அந்த கூட்டு குடும்ப பாரம்பரியம் பண்பாடு நம்ம நாட்டில் தானே இருக்குது. வேற எந்த நாட்டில் சொல்ல முடியும்? இன்றைக்கு நம்முடைய விருந்தினர் வந்தால் அவரை உபசரிப்பதற்கு அதற்கென்று தனியாக கலைகளை உருவாக்கியது யார்? நம்முடைய தமிழன் தானே. பண்பாட்டுக்கு பெயர் போனவன் தமிழர் அல்லவா? இப்படி அனைத்து திறமைகளையும் அனைத்து பண்பாட்டுகளையும் இன்றைக்கு ஒருங்கிணைந்த ஒரு நாடாக நம்முடைய நாடு இருக்கிறது என்று சொன்னால் அந்த நம்முடைய நாட்டில் உருவாக்க முடியாத வேற எந்த நாட்டிலும் உருவாக்க முடியாது. அதைத்தான் இன்றைக்கு பாரத பிரதமர் அவர்கள் உணர்ந்து இன்றைக்கு அதை செய்திருக்கின்றார்கள். உன்னுடைய அறிவுக்கு உரிய கல்வி வேண்டுமா? எடுத்துக்கொள். உன்னுடைய தொழிலுக்கு தேவையான கல்வி வேண்டுமா? பொருளாதார மேம்பாட்டிற்கு தேவையான கல்வி வேண்டுமா? எடுத்துக்கொள். இந்த சமுதாயம் மேம்படுவதற்கு ஆராய்ச்சிகளை உருவாக்க வேண்டுமா? ஆராய்ச்சி படிக்க வேண்டுமா? நீ எடுத்துக்கொள். இதுதான் இன்றைக்கு இருக்கின்ற இந்த புதிய கொள்கையிலே உனக்கு எது தேவை நீ எடுத்துக்கொள். நம்முடைய மனித சமுதாயத்தை இன்றைக்கு இறைவன் இன்றைக்கு மிக சிறப்பாக அற்புதமாக படைத்திருக்கின்றார். 7 பிறவி என்று சொல்வார்கள். நமக்கு இந்த மனித சமுதாயம் தான் மிக அற்புதமான பிறப்பு. இன்னைக்கு ஓர் அறிவு ஜீவன்ல இருந்து இன்றைக்கு 6 அறிவு ஜீவனாக இருக்கின்றது மனிதன் மட்டும்தான். இன்னைக்கு 6 அறிவு நம்ம அறிவு. ஏன்னா சிந்திக்கக்கூடிய அந்த பகுத்தறிவோடு இருக்கின்ற ஒரு சமுதாயம் இருக்கின்றால் அது மனித சமுதாயம். இப்படி அந்த மனித சமுதாயத்திற்கு உரிய வசதி வாய்ப்புகளை உருவாக்குவதற்கு வேண்டிய அந்த திட்டங்களைத்தான் இன்றைக்கு இந்த புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையில் உருவாக்கப்பட்டது. இப்படிப்பட்ட இந்த நிலையிலே தான் இந்த புதிய கல்விக் கொள்கையை உருவாக்குவதற்கு, இதை செயல்படுத்துவதற்கு உருவாக்கியாச்சு, அமுல்படுத்திட்டோம். இன்றைக்கு நாம் செயல்படுத்த வேண்டும், எக்ஸிகியூஷன். இப்ப செயல்பாடு என்று வருகின்ற பொழுதுதான் இன்றைக்கு நமக்கு முக்கியமான ஒரு பங்காக, சவாலாக இன்றைக்கு இருந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது. அந்த செயல்படுத்துகின்ற பொழுது எந்தெந்த அம்சங்கள் எல்லாம் எப்படி அதை நாம் செயல்படுத்த போகின்றோம், இப்படி செயல்படுத்துகின்ற போது என்னென்ன இடர்பாடுகளை நாம் எதிர்கொள்ள வேண்டியிருக்கும், அந்த இடர்பாடுகளை எப்படி நாம் களைய போகின்றோம், இதைத்தான் நாம் ஆலோசிக்க வேண்டிய, சிந்திக்க வேண்டிய நேரம் நமக்கு இப்போதைக்கு வந்திருக்கிறது. அப்படி சிந்தித்து அதற்கு ஏற்றவாறு இந்த திட்டத்தை நாம் அமல்படுத்த வேண்டும். அப்படி இருக்கின்ற எந்த ஒரு திட்டம் கொண்டு வந்தாலும் நடைமுறை சின்ன சின்ன சிக்கல்கள் வரும், சின்ன சின்ன பிரச்சனைகள் வரும். அதை தீர்ப்பதற்கு அதை எப்படி அதை சரி பண்ணா அந்த திட்டத்தை சரியான முறையில் நாம் நம்முடைய மாணவர்களுக்கு கொண்டு செல்ல முடியும், அதை அந்த கல்வியை கொடுக்க முடியும் என்பதை ஆராய்ந்து கொடுப்பதற்கான ஒரு வழிவகையை நாம் ஆராய்வதற்கான ஒரு நிகழ்வாக இந்த நிகழ்வை உருவாக்கி இருக்கின்றீர்கள். அதற்கு மரியாதைக்குரிய துணைவேந்தர் அவர்களுக்கும் அவரோடு உடனிருந்து ஒத்துழைத்த அத்துணை பேருக்கும் என்னுடைய மனமார்ந்த வாழ்த்துக்களையும் பாராட்டுக்களையும் இந்த நேரத்திலே நான் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்ள கடமைப்பட்டேன். ஏன்னா இங்க பேசும்போது சொன்னார்கள், வினோத்ஜி சொன்னார், இது ஒரு முடிவல்ல, இது ஆரம்பம். இன்றைக்கு ஒரு ஆரம்பத்தை இன்றைக்கு திருவாரூரில் இன்றைக்கு நாம் ஆரம்பித்திருக்கின்றோம். அதுக்குரிய நம்முடைய சன்னிதானம் ஆதினம் அவர்கள் சொன்னார்கள், திருவாரூர் எத்தகைய நிலைமைக்கெல்லாம் பெயர் பெற்றது, புகழ் பெற்றது என்று சொன்னார்கள். அப்படி ஒரு புகழ்பெற்ற இந்த நகரத்தில் இருந்து மிக புகழ்பெற்ற ஒரு திட்டத்தை இன்றைக்கு நாம் ஆலோசித்திருக்கின்றோம், கலந்தாலோசித்திருக்கின்றோம் என்று சொன்னால் அதை செயல்படுத்துவதை நாம் அந்த எம்பெருமானிடம் விட்டுவிடுவோம். அது நிச்சயமாக அது நல்ல முறையே நமக்கு நடக்கும். ஏன்னு சொன்னா இந்த சமுதாயத்தினுடைய மாற்றத்துக்காக இப்ப எனக்கோ உங்களுக்கோ தனிப்பட்ட யாருக்குமாக ஆன திட்டம் அல்ல. இது நம்முடைய இந்திய நாட்டில் வசிக்கின்ற நம்முடைய மனித சமுதாயத்திற்கான நமக்கான திட்டம். இந்த திட்டத்தை செயல்படுத்துகின்ற பொழுது இன்றைக்கு நம்முடைய இறைவன் நாம் இந்த மனித சமுதாயத்தை படைக்கின்ற பொழுது ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் ஒரு திறமை கொடுத்திருக்கிறான். ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் ஒரு திறமை கொடுத்திருக்கான். ஒருத்தர் வந்து பேசுவதில் திறமை உள்ளவராக இருப்பார், ஒருத்தர் பாடுறதுல திறமை உள்ளவராக இருப்பார், ஒருத்தர் தொழில்நுட்பத்தில் திறமை உள்ளவராக இருப்பார், இன்றைக்கு பல்வேறு துறையில் ஒருத்தர் கலையில திறமை உள்ளவராக இருப்பார். இப்படி ஒவ்வொருவருக்கென்று ஒரு திறமையை இன்றைக்கு இறைவன் நம்முடைய மனித சமுதாயத்திற்கு கொடுத்திருக்கின்றான். அந்த திறமையை வளர்த்துக் கொள்வதற்கு இந்த தேசிய கல்விக் கொள்கையில் இடமிருக்கு. ஏன் சொன்னா அவர் தன்னுடைய அறிவை வளர்த்துக் கொள்ள வேண்டுமா, படிக்கணும் அப்படின்னா அவர் படிச்சுக்கலாம். இல்ல அவரு ஒரு தனியா ஒரு எக்ஸ்பர்ட் ஒரு தொழில சிறந்தவராக இருக்கணுமா, பண்ணலாம். அல்ல ஒரு ஆராய்ச்சி பண்ண போறாரா, பண்ணலாம். ஒரு சயின்டிஸ்டா போறா, பண்ணலாம். அப்படித்தான் இன்றைக்கு இந்த திட்டங்கள் இன்றைக்கு உருவாக்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றது. இன்னைக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஸ்டார்ட் அப்ஸ் சொன்னார் பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர். இன்னைக்கு எவ்வளவு பேர் இன்றைக்கு தொழில் முனைவோர்கள், இன்றைக்கு இளைஞர்கள் இன்றைக்கு உருவாக்கப்பட்டிருக்கின்றார்கள் இந்திய நாட்டில். நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா இன்றைக்கு 10,000த்திற்கு மேற்பட்ட இளைஞர்கள் இன்றைக்கு சுயமாக தொழிலை இன்றைக்கு உருவாக்குறவர்களா, அடுத்தவர்களுக்கு வேலை கொடுக்கிறவர்களா இன்னைக்கு உருவாகி இருக்குங்க. ஏறக்குறைய ஒரு 10 நாளுக்கு முன்னாடி பெங்களூர்ல ஒரு வெஹிக்கிள் எலக்ட்ரானிக் வெஹிக்கிள் எக்ஸ்போ நாங்கள் ஆரம்பிச்சு வைக்கிறதுக்காக போயிருந்தோம். அப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னா காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் 2 பேர் 3 பேர், பெரிய பெரிய நிறுவனங்கள் கோடிக்கணக்கான ரூபாய் இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி நாங்கள் வெஹிக்கிள் நாங்கள் இப்படி பண்ணிட்டோம், அப்படி பண்ணிட்டோம், அதை பண்ணிட்டோம், இதை பண்ணிட்டோம் அப்படின்னு நிறைய திட்டங்கள். இன்னைக்கு பைக்கு பண்ணியிருக்கிறோம், கார் பண்ணியிருக்கிறோம், ஆட்டோ பண்ணியிருக்கிறோம், நாங்கள் ட்ரக் பண்ணியிருக்கிறோம் அப்படிலாம் கொண்டு போய் காட்டுறாங்க. எல்லாரும் பார்த்தோம், எல்லாத்தையும் பார்த்தோம். 3 காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் 3 பேர் வந்தாங்க. வந்து அவங்கள பார்த்தாக்கா அவங்க ட்ரெஸ் கோடு கூட பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நமக்கு ஏழ்மையானவர். அவங்க ட்ரெஸ் கோடு கூட அவ்வளோ இதாக இல்லை. ஏன்னா காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட் தான். ட்ரெஸ் கோடு கூட அவ்வளோ இதாக இல்லை அவங்களுக்கு. ஏன்னா அதை கூட அவங்க பண்ணிக்க முடியாத ஒரு சூழ்நிலை இருக்காங்கன்றதை நம்மளால தெரிஞ்சிக்க முடியும். சார் நீங்கள் எங்கள் ஸ்டாலுக்கும் வரணும் அப்படின்னு வந்து கூப்பிட்டேன். நான் வரேன்பா, நான் எல்லாத்துக்கும் வரேன், நோ இஷ்யூஸ் அப்படின்னு பண்ணேன். போன உடனே பார்த்தோம்னா அவருடைய திங்கிங் எப்படி இருக்குதுன்னா, சார் ஏற்கனவே வந்து நம்முடைய நாட்டில் இவ்வளோ பழைய மோட்டார் சைக்கிள்ஸ் இருக்குது, அதனால நம்ம நாட்டில் இவ்வளோ பொல்யூஷன்ஸ் உருவாகுது. அப்போ இருக்கிற இந்த பழைய மோட்டார் சைக்கிள் எல்லாம் எலக்ட்ரிக்கல் வெஹிக்கிளா மாத்திட்டா நாம இந்த பொல்யூஷன்ல இருந்து நாம எல்லாம் விடுபட முடியும். இதுல வந்து அதிக இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட்டும் கிடையாது. பழைய மோட்டார் சைக்கிளை வாங்கி அது எல்லாமே எலக்ட்ரானிக் வெஹிக்கிளா மாத்திட்டோம் அப்படின்னு சொன்னா, கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம்னு சொன்னா ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா வந்துட முடியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி அதற்காக ஒரு மாடல் பழைய மோட்டார் சைக்கிளை வாங்கி அதையும் மாற்றி டெமோல வச்சிருக்காங்க. ஏன் இதை நான் சொல்றேன்னா, இத்தகைய அறிவுள்ள ஒரு சமுதாயம் நம்முடைய நாட்டில் இருக்குது. அதை நாம பயன்படுத்திக்கணும். இதைத்தான் பிரதமர் அவர்கள் கண்டுபிடித்து இன்றைக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் அப்ஸ் சொன்னார். அந்த ஸ்டார்ட் அப்ஸ் சொல்லும்போது இப்போ அவங்க நாளைக்கு ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு நிறுவனத்தை அவங்க உருவாக்குன்ற பொழுது அவங்களால எத்தனை பேருக்கு அவங்களுக்கு வேலை கொடுக்க முடியும்? எல்லா வேலையும் அரசாங்கமே நமக்கு கொடுக்கும். இன்னைக்கு அரசாங்க வேலையே நம்ம எதிர்பார்த்தோம்னு சொன்னா நிச்சயமா அது கிடைக்காது. அது வாய்ப்பு இல்லை. எல்லாருக்கும் கொடுக்க முடியுமா? இருக்கிற பட்ஜெட் அத்தனை பேருக்கும் எல்லாருக்கும் அரசாங்கம் வேலை கொடுத்துட முடியுமா? அப்ப அரசாங்கம் அது மாதிரி வேலை கொடுத்ததுன்னு சொன்னா எந்த திட்டத்தையும் நம்மளால செய்ய முடியாது. எல்லாருக்கும் கவர்மெண்ட் சம்பளம் கொடுத்துட்டு வர்ற வருமானத்தில் கவர்மெண்ட் சம்பளம் கொடுத்துட்டு அப்படியே உட்காந்துருக்க வேண்டியது. எந்த டெவலப்மெண்ட்டும் நம்முடைய நாட்டில் உருவாக்க முடியாது. ஆனால் நாம் வேலை பெறுவோராக இல்லாமல் நாம் வேலை கொடுப்போராக மாற வேண்டும் என்பதுதான் இந்த தேசிய கொள்கை கனவிலே இருக்கின்ற அடிப்படை தத்துவமாக இருக்கின்றது. அதை பயன்படுத்தி இந்த நாடு வளம் பெறுவதற்கு, இந்த சமுதாயம் மேம்படுவதற்கு நாம் அனைவரும் ஒத்துழைப்போம் என்று சொல்லி வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி கூறி விடைபெறுகிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
The reward of a thing well done is having done it. However, we will be falling short of our duty if we do not recognize a thing well done and encourage it. May I now request Professor S. Nagarajan, our conference convener, to render the vote of thanks to the gathering.
Very good evening to all of you. அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். நான் வரும்போதே சார் சொல்ல ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க, சீக்கிரமா முடிச்சிருங்க அப்படின்ட்டு. Most important thing, vote of thanks. எல்லாரும் பண்ணியாச்சு. Everybody has done a wonderful work. This conference, 2 days conference is because of hard work by many of my colleagues, my students. Nearly 45 days we worked. We worked in all dimensions. So before going to that, let me thank the Honorable Minister of Education from Government of Pondicherry. Thank you very much, sir, for your the thought-provoking speech. Really very much grateful to you, sir. So really, I remember the first inaugural session we have our governor. Now we are ending the program with our Honorable Minister. So both the idea, their thoughts are excellent, right? And we have a Sannidhanam. So really we are thankful to Sannidhanam for being with us in this moment. I'm thankful to Vinod sir, our Honorable Vice Chancellor. And last 2 days about in 7 sessions, about 28 presentations were made. Out of 28, 3 presentations were online. We have about 63 participants. Apart from CUT and faculty, we have 63 here attended physically. And as our Vice Chancellor mentioned, so the entire program is on online. From the day 1, 10 a.m. That program is in online. It's in YouTube. More than 10,000 views. So people are in online. They're watching this entire event. So thank you very much for joining this program and being with us. So maybe I will be thanking the entire team, starting from the horticulture department to all the people that they have done an enormous work to make this conference a grand success. So thank you, one and all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The time has
has come to draw a curtain to our 2 days conference on devising action plan for faster and smoother implementation of NEP 2020. May now we request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे जाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I request all the participants to be seated until the dignitaries take leave. We believe there is never an end, but always a beginning. Jai Hind and thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.